Hello everyone, Metal Witcher N7. I am doing a tier list video today. Now, if this video seems familiar, it is because I have done this before, but I really wasn't a big fan of the quality of the last video, and I do feel like it could have just been structured a little better, if I'm being honest. So this is a tier list of all of the studio songs that Metallica have recorded. Now, the last time I did this, there were a few more songs to consider off of the Garage Inc. album, the Beyond Magnetic EP, uh, two songs off of S&M 1, and one song off of S&M 2. This tier list does not include those albums. We are strictly focusing on the first 11 studio albums for Metallica. Not including the live albums, not including the Beyond Magnetic EP, No Life to Leather, we're not including that. We're not including Garage Inc. This is strictly just the 11 studio albums, in order this time, because the last time I did this, the albums were very out of order for some reason. It wasn't. I think it tried to be in alphabetical, but it was just really sorted weird. So, anyways, I also wanted to change how these songs were sorted. So, favorite is self-explanatory. These are the songs that I listen to over and over again, the songs that I never get tired of, and they're just godly to me. Great is on the same level, but it's not quite. Like, they're still really, really good, and I do love listening to them. Underrated, they are songs that are just a step below. They're still really cool every time I hear them, and they may or may not be songs that I disliked at one point, but then the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, oh, that's actually really cool. Or it might be the opposite. Maybe it's a song I loved at first, but it wore off over time. Neutral are songs that I like listening to, but I also don't like listening to. It really just depends on the mood. There's not really going to be a lot of these songs. And of course, the I skip these. This is basically the F tier category. These are the songs that I skip. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. If we were covering Garage Inc., I would put So What in this category. I really don't like that song. I'm sorry, I just don't. Even I know it's a cover song, but still. And then I decided just to be a troll, and I put the Lulu album in its own tier, even though there's no Lulu songs. I still wanted to include that. It was technically a collaboration album with Lou Reed. It's not a studio album from Metallica. So with all that being said, let's get into this. So the first song, the opening track for Kill 'Em All, the first album released in 1983, Hit the Lights. That's another thing. So because I don't want to get a copyright strike, I will at least try to imitate a riff that I like from each of these songs. Oh God. So Hit the Lights is more than likely a lot of people's first introduction to Metallica in the early to mid 80s. It really just depends. Hit the Lights was a really good opening track for a fast, thrashy album. Like as soon as you hear like the guitar, um, that that scrape, and then it goes into and then it just picks up. No life to leather, gonna kick some ass tonight. It's a really fun crowd song. I wouldn't say it's a favorite of mine, but it is a song that I love listening to just for the energy and the riffs, really cool guitar solos. Yeah, I put this in great. It's not really underrated. It's still like a crowd favorite, you know. So anyways, now the Four Horsemen on the other hand is a favorite. It's a very fun song to hear live. Lyrically, it's really cool. It's about the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Really cool song composition. I really hate the only thing that brings this song down to me is the live version, not including that middle section where it's like a Leonard Skinner type of clean riff, like the dun 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 bum 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 bum. It's not really like exactly how it sounds, obviously, but the rest of the song is great. Like just that opening riff, and then you go into the verse like the by the last breath of the moment. Like it's a really fun song. Really fun song. I put this in my favorite. Now, I do know that Megadeth has their own little version, Mechanics, and a lot of people say that song is superior. I'm not one of those people. I'm just not one of those people. Moving on. Next, we got Motor Breath, a short, simple 3-minute track. This is one of the shorter songs that Metallica has ever done. I think it's only like 3 minutes and 3 seconds. It's actually really crazy. It's also the only song, to my knowledge, that only James Hetfield wrote, because usually every other song has at least Lars as a additional credit on the writing. This one was just strictly James Hetfield. It's a really fun song, cool intro, and then you get the I can't do that, but like you go into like the main riff, like the really fun song. Again, it's kind of like Hit the Lights. It's a pleasant surprise to hear live every now and then. They don't really play it too much, but when they do play it, it's pretty fun. So I put this in great. Jump in the Fire. So this is a song that I would put in the underrated category. To me, it's not a song that I go out of my way to listen to that much, but it is still a welcome surprise whenever I do hear it. It's like, oh yeah, this is actually like a fun little song. Like the and you can kind of hear like elements of that riff played in later songs, which we'll get to in about an hour or two. We'll see how long it takes. Really fun song. It's just like it's one of like the more upbeat songs, even though it's about like jumping into hellfire. It's just kind of funny to me. Once again, this is just like the Four Horsemen. This is a song that Dave Mustaine really wants people to know that he helped write that riff, you know? But, fair play. It is a pretty fun riff. Just like the last few songs I've said, this is a song that they really don't play often. It's like once in a blue moon, but whenever it does come on, it's welcome. It's just like a nice classic sounding song. I would put it in underrated just because it's not my favorite song on Kill 'Em All, but it is a song that whenever I do hear it, it's like, oh yeah, this is fun. So now we got Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, aka Cliff Burton, doing a 4-minute bass solo. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty epic sounding solo. Cliff Burton, he was like the Jimi Hendrix of the bass guitar. Like he just has that unique standout sound. And yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot to say. I love how there's always a tribute to this song. Like, it's really cool, and I love the added addition of like at the beginning, like you hear like bass solo, take one. It's just like like if you didn't need or if like as if you already didn't need a reminder that Cliff Burton was a beast on the bass. You had that at the beginning. It's like, wow, one take, nice. This is pretty cool. And I love how it goes into Whiplash right after it. So I would put it in great. It's not like a favorite, but it is still really fun to listen to. Now Whiplash, on the other hand, is a favorite, just like Four Horsemen. These are like my two favorite songs off of Kill 'Em All, I would say. There's a third one, but we'll get to that soon. Whiplash is just a really fun opening or closing track, in my opinion, to like a classic Metallica concert. Really fast, really thrashy, really cool lyrics. Like just really simple, thrashy, but still like just the energy that it has, especially like when they play it live. Like it just takes it up to a whole nother level. I love like the break riff after the third verse, like. And I love Motorhead's cover of it too. It's a pretty epic cover with their own little twist on it. So yeah, I'd put this in favorite. It's a really good song. So next we got Phantom Lord. Just like Motor Breath, Hit the Lights, and Anesthesia, it is a song that uh, is just a pleasant surprise to hear live whenever they do bring it out. Phantom Lord is extremely underrated in my opinion. It kind of follows the same structure as Hit the Lights. Has like a cool little intro and then it goes into the fast verses and but the thing that this song does differently is it actually has a clean section which is pretty cool and it sounds really unique. It fits the song pretty well and then it goes right into another solo section. Really cool song. Really cool lyrics again, kind of like Four Horsemen. I put this in great. Really solid song. And the same thing could be said for No Remorse, although I would make the argument that this would this is probably the most underrated track off of Kill 'Em All, maybe? No, I wouldn't say that. I feel like Phantom Lord is more underrated. But I think that what I'm trying to say is I originally wanted to put No Remorse into the great category, but I think I could be convinced to put it in my favorite because to me it's a little bit more memorable. There's just a lot more to it. I really love like the opening section where they're just jamming and Kirk gets a solo out and then it goes into the verse riff like the like it does that. But then like after the third chorus, James is like charge, and then it goes into a fast thrashy section out of nowhere. It's like oh my god, like that was amazing. Oh my god, you know. So I think I could bump No Remorse up to my favorite because it is a really good song. Seek and Destroy. This is one of the few Metallica songs where the live version does sound a lot better because to me this is a really crowd heavy song, but the studio version is still kick ass. I mean, as soon as you hear like like that gets a crowd hyped, and then you go into the verses like the really cool song. Again, it's a crowd heavy song. I mean, it's Metallica, it's a classic sounding track, and yeah, there's really not. I really don't need to say anything. I don't really need to justify it. To me, it just goes in favorite. Now, Metal Militia. I originally wanted to put this in underrated, but the more I've listened to it over the years, it's like you know what, this is actually a pretty kick-ass song. Just like a lot of Kill 'Em All. I mean, really, Kill 'Em All is like to me, it's like a top 5 or top 10 most influential thrash album because to me, all 10 songs are bangers in their own way. Like they each do something unique and heavy, and they all support thrash, which I love. Thrash is probably my favorite metal genre, and this song is thrashy as hell. Like it has a really cool opening, cool verses, really cool solos. I love how the intro riff inspired "Spit Out the Bone" on "Hardwired to Self-Destruct," and I mean yeah, the riffs are great. Like the that's like the verse. That's supposed to be the verse riff, but it's supposed to sound a lot better than that. So I put this in great. Yeah. Nothing really to say about Kill 'Em All. A really solid starting album with no weak track, in my opinion. Alright, so now we're at Ride the Lightning, the follow up album. I believe it was 83, so 2 years after Kill 'Em All. This is when Metallica was really starting to take over a lot of um, the main scene, like the thrash metal scene, just metal in general, you know. They were really or actually, I think it was 84. Was it 84? Yeah, because his first album was 83, and then I think Ride the Lightning was 84. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that's right. So, anyways, Ride the Lightning is considered by many a fan favorite. for good reason. There's really not a bad song on this album, truthfully. I mean, it stands right up there with Master of Puppets. While a lot of people prefer Master of Puppets, there are a lot of comments that I read that say that they prefer Ride the Lightning more, just because, mainly because it's not the one that you would say right off the bat in most discussions. Like, the average Metallica fan might just say Master because it's the most popular one, or the Black Album, which is fine. You know, they're both good albums. But anyways, Ride the Lightning starts off with a banger, like right away, just like Hit the Lights. You get Fight Fire with Fire. You know, verses are really cool with the riff like and it's like do to others as they've done to you. But really a solid song with no break. Like, God, imagine. I mean, they actually did play the song live in '86, and they played it like so much faster. Like, they must have been on a hell of a cocaine binge. But I know it was also a personal reason, like why they were trying to get through the set as quick as possible. It's still a really fun song that they do bring out occasionally. It's not quite as often, but it's still a welcome surprise whenever they do play it. To me, I don't think this is the best opening track to a Metallica album, but it's up there. It's hard not to say it's up there. It's hard to deny how amazing this song really is. So I put this in great for now. Next up is the title track, Ride the Lightning. I mean, it's a simple, thrashy song with a really cool solo section, really addicting main riff, like the dun 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 ba bum ba bam ba bam ba bum ba bam ba bam ba bum ba bam ba bam ba bam ba bam, like a really cool main riff. It's another song I believe that Dave Mustaine claims that he wrote because, you know, he wrote every single Metallica song. Ho ho. I'm obviously not like trying to bash Megadeth or anything like that. It's just a meme. Um, so the title track, Ride the Lightning, I think it's become more of a fan favorite in recent years than anything. I know Kirk Hammett loves playing it. You know, he got really mad when he found out that Ride the Lightning wasn't on the set for some reason. It was pretty funny. Um, yeah, I've put the title track "Ride the Lightning" in my favorite category. It's a song I never get tired of hearing. Has a really addicting verses to sing along to, and yeah, nothing else to say. So next we get to "For Whom the Bell Tolls." I mean, this was a huge song for Metallica. I actually remember my mom telling me that this was the first song that she had listened to by them. It played on MTV, and she was like, "Oh my God, who the hell are these guys? They sound very great. They sound awesome." And it's hard not to love this song. I mean, it does a lot of great things, you know, like you get that ominous bell intro, and then you get the ba 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 like that awesome bass intro from Cliff Burton, which a lot of people still don't know that's actually being played on a bass, which, you know, sucks to be you, I guess. Really awesome opening, but then you get that extended intro with Kirk playing lead, like the that's not how it sounds at all, but and then you finally get into the verses, and it's just like so cool. It's another crowd heavy song, just like Seek and Destroy. It's a really fun song live. For me, this is obviously in my favorites. It was one of the first songs that I discovered from Metallica when I first started listening to them, and yeah, I mean it still holds up. It's a great song. Speaking of that, next we got Fade to Black. This was the first ballad that Metallica released and produced. And yeah, it still hits home to this day. I remember crying the first time I heard it, and you know, it still does get me every now and then. It really just depends on the mood that I'm in. It's a song I never get tired of hearing. Um, has a beautiful acoustic intro, and then the verses, and then when it gets heavy, it picks up, and then it has such an addicting riff right after the second chorus, like the bana 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 bana. Like I find myself humming that so many times throughout the day, and I don't even mean to do it. It just has that effect on me. And obviously Kirk's solo is great. It's one of his best. It's I think it would be like a top 5 solo for him. Yeah, nothing else to say. Just put Fade to Black in my favorites. Now, Trapped Under Ice. So if you would have asked me to do this tier list about a year or two ago, I would have put Trapped Under Ice in my underrated category. It's simply a song that I didn't really listen to that much back then, but now the more I listen to it, I'm like, wow, I really like this song. This is actually kick ass. If I remember correctly, if my knowledge is correct, I think that Lemmy Kilmister actually has a writing credit on the song, which that's pretty cool. You know, Lemmy writing a Metallica song. It's pretty cool. Um, yeah, it's just another beautiful, simple, thrashy song. Really fast verses. They don't really play it they don't really play it live too often, unfortunately. It's a shame, but when they do play it, it's still a welcome surprise. It's actually one of the rare times where a song like this is played slower live and it actually still sounds pretty cool. But I really love after the second chorus, like you get that so like it's still thrashy, but it still has that added complexity. It's like a perfect balance of thrashy but complexity, which I really like. I'm a huge fan of that type of music, that type of metal specifically. I put this in great. So, Escape. Right. So, this is considered by many people to be a classic, just hidden in the catalog. I personally like the song, but I can understand why they never play it live. I can understand why James Hetfield has said publicly that he doesn't really like the song at all. I think if my information is correct, they recorded this song in 3 days, and it was literally just so they could have 8 tracks on the album. I think it was actually the last one recorded. I, for one, do like the instrumentation of the song. It's very nice. I love the intro, like the and then it goes into the verse like the like the tone on this album. It really supports this song a lot. Like it helps elevate it a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's just the lyrics. Maybe I don't know. I don't really find myself coming back to this song too often. Like it's still a song where if it comes on, I'll listen to it. Do I put it in underrated? It's definitely my least favorite track on Ride the Lightning, which is shocking, I'm sure, but um I'll tell you what, I will put this in underrated for now. For now. I would put it in neutral. I don't really hate the song. I do really like the instrumentation of it, and I do really like how the song picks up at the end, like the bam 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 bam, and I do like the life's for my own to live my own way. Like that's cool, but I'll put it in underrated for now. So next up we got Creeping Death. I mean, there's nothing to say about this really. But I will still explain it. So I love the intro, like the and then like it goes into the like hearing that live is an adrenaline rush on its own. And if I ever get to go to a Metallica concert, I would love to hear Creeping Death live. I would go crazy. Like, it's just that song for me. I love both versions of the song, like the studio and the live version. I feel like the live version, it just has a lot of energy behind it, but I do appreciate the studio version. It's just really nice. Um, I love all the riffs. I love Kirk's solo. I love like the bridge near the end where it's like die by my hand, I creep across the land, and just hearing like a swarm of people chanting die, like that's really cool. It sounds really bad out of context, but I don't care. It's true. So yeah, Creeping Death is up there for me. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, oh my god, it was like life changing. I thought I had already heard like some of the best Metallica songs, but then that song came on. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. So yeah, Creeping Death is up there. And then we close out the album with Call of Cthulhu. It's definitely the most underrated instrumental. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but it's definitely a really nice song. It's an instrumental, so a lot of people might not like it. I personally love instrumentals. I really like this one too. I remember listening to it yesterday. I was like, wow, this is really good. Much better than I remember it, because it's still a song that I don't listen to that often, but it's still really good every time I hear it. It's like that intro, it gets you hooked, and then like once it builds up, and then you go into the really cool composition, really good progression. It's a great song. Nothing else to say. Alright, so now we get to Master of Puppets. Widely known and accepted as the best Metallica album by many people. And I mean, it's hard not to argue that. I mean, it does everything right, pretty much. Like, there's not a single bad song on this album, in my opinion. Every song is great. It's a banger all the way through. We start off with Battery. I mean, this is considered by many people to be the best opening track to any Metallica album, and I can honestly agree with that. I mean, it just does everything correctly. Like, it has a beautiful acoustic intro, which Fight with Fire did have as well. I forgot to mention that. And then it just builds and builds and builds, and then all of a sudden you hear ba da 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 ba ba da 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 da. Wait, I actually forgot how it went. Ba 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 da 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 ba da ba 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 ba, and it just picks up, and the verse is like lashing at the action, returning the reaction, wicked ripped and torn away. Like, I remember when I first started listening to Metallica, I was very well acquainted with Enter Sandman, Unforgiven, One, these songs, like the hits, basically. And I remember hearing Battery for the first time, and I remember it was like the earth had just opened up for me. I was like, oh my god. That was like the fastest song that I had ever heard in my life. And I was shell shocked. It's kind of funny it's kind of funny comparing myself now to when I was only in ninth grade listening to metal for the first time religiously. And it's just funny thinking of myself being that intimidated by a really fast song. But yeah, so this song was a game changer for me, because this was the song that really got me even more hooked into Metallica. I was like, okay, I listened to these albums, now I gotta listen to the first three albums, and I decided to start with Master of Puppets, and then this song came on. I was like, oh my god, like that's amazing. So even without that, this is still a pretty awesome song. Like, it does everything correctly. Good riffs, good solos, really fast. Like, it just, yeah, it's, to me, I think it is the best opening track for a Metallica album, but there's another one that we'll talk about very shortly that I think is really good competition. So then we get to Master of Puppets, the title track. It's kind of funny. I played the live version with the San Francisco Symphony yesterday when I was driving with my dad, and he was like, "Can you understand what they're saying?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, well, I feel like I need subtitles because I can't really." And I was just like, and then he was like, and then he also made a comment like, "Oh, well, do you listen to these bands for the music or for the lyrics?" And I'm like, "Well, it really just depends on the band." And for me, Metallica is my favorite, and you know, it's you kind of have to understand the lyrics. I mean, really, Metallica is not one of those bands to me where it's only about the music, because when you compare Metallica to a modern metal band, it's like night and day. Like I respect modern metal for existing, but to me it will never be better than the classics, especially Metallica in my opinion. But anyways, that's besides the point. It was just kind of funny how my dad was like struggling to understand Master of Puppets, and then there I am in the passenger seat just wanting to sing along to it because that's just how many times I've heard it, and it just does that. Like as soon as you hear "and passion play crumbling away, I'm your source of self-destruction," like it just gets you into it. But the song itself, like it has an iconic opening, like bah, like as soon as you hear that, it's like okay, shit's gonna go down. I mean, the song itself, it's praised by many as being like the best metal song, and it's hard not to argue that. It's kind of funny how the best metal song, according to people, it doesn't even have a single blast beat, or it doesn't go above 160 or 170 BPM. It's just kind of funny. Um, yeah, this song is just amazing to me. It just gets you moving, gets you hyped automatically. Really fun lyrics to sing along to. Um, an iconic clean section like the a James Hetfield solo on top of all that. Like every riff in this song is great. It's iconic, and it's hard not to argue that this is like one of my favorite songs. Not just one of my favorite Metallica songs, but one of my favorite songs in general. Like it's up there. So then we go from that adrenaline rush to the thing that should not be, which is a much slower song. But to me, I really like this song. It's slow, it's menacing, it has a really good build up, really unique verses, really chuggy riffs. Like, oh my god, like the tone supports this album just like Ride the Lightning. Like if the tone wasn't like this song probably wouldn't have worked as well. Like, but when you hear bum 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 bum, it just works. It works. I would say last year I would have said this was an underrated song, but the more I listen to it, it's just like, man, this is really good. So yeah, I'm just kind of filling up these two categories. These three sections aren't really going to be full of too many songs, if I'm being perfectly honest. So then we get Sanitarium, or the correct title is Welcome Home, parentheses, Sanitarium, but really unique ballad from Metallica. I would maybe put this in great, but the more I listen to it, the more I've listened to it over the years, it is really, to me, it's not quite as good as Fade to Black or One, or it's not nearly as iconic, but it's still very, very good. Has unique verses. It has a very menacing and dark tone to it. And I love the chorus, like the sanitarium, leave me be. Like it's interesting. It's very interesting. And then of course like, you get the break riff after the second chorus, like the like very thrashy, chuggy riffs, and yeah, it's just really cool. It's a really cool song. I'd put this in one of my favorites as well. When they do play it live, it is a pleasant surprise. And then we get to Disposable Heroes. I mean, this to me is in my top 5 actual favorite Metallica songs. It just does everything right. Has a really cool intro reminiscent of Creeping Death, like the and then it settles down, and then you get that beautiful, chuggy, thrashy, down-picked riff to open. And then the speed just picks up when you least expect it. Like that. That is not how it sounds at all. But I love the after the second chorus, like the that's like I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it justice. It's just a really cool song. It's one of my favorite Kirk Hammett solos to listen to too. The one thing I will say about the song is the drums are sloppy, but I feel like with I couldn't listen to the song without that. I just feel like it's still pretty kick-ass. When they do play it live, it's fun. I love the pre-chorus and the chorus, like Soldier boy, made of clay, now an empty shell. 21, only son, but he served us well. And I love the fact that the song isn't even what you think it's about. It's about, like, what inspired the song was, it was like a football team, I think. Like, it wasn't a song about soldiers. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of funny. There's a Master of Puppets documentary on YouTube. It's really good. I think it was made by the fans. It's really solid. All right. So now we get to Leper Messiah. This is definitely the. I feel like this is the escape of this album. It's just a very underappreciated song, but Metallica seem to love to play it live more often, which is nice. It's a welcome surprise. Uh, I wouldn't say it's underrated. I still feel like it has a lot of cool elements. Like I love the simple main riff, like the banana banana and I just love again. It's kind of like Sanitarium. I like the atmosphere of the song. Like it's just kind of dark tone a little bit. Um, I love after the second chorus, like when the riffs like pick up speed a little bit, double bass kicks in a little bit. Really solid song overall. I put this in great. It's kind of funny starting off with the first four Metallica albums, because to me, there's really not a bad song on these four albums. Like, that's just how I feel. So when we get to like the Black album and after, that's when I'll finally start filling up these three tiers more. So we get to Orion, the instrumental for Master of Puppets. I mean, there's nothing to say about this song really. It's just a beautiful song. I love the progression. I love Cliff Burton's bass on this song. It's so unique sounding, and I love the bass solo near the end. Uh, yeah, it's just a really kick-ass song. Yeah, nothing to say. Like I love the main riff, like the it's very simple, but it's catchy, and I just love how the rest of the song progresses. And I mean the break section where they go more calm, and it's iconic. It's soothing. And then we follow that up with Damage Incorporated. Like this is a closing track that I've really learned to love more and more over the years. Like it's just like Battery. It's just it builds with a beautiful opening, and then you just hear ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da ba 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 really fast, thrashy, unapologetic. Like it's just a beautifully thrashy song. I wouldn't say it's the best closing track, but it's up there to me. It's just it does everything right. I love the break riff after the second chorus, like that. That's not how it sounds. I have the right idea. You just have to listen to it. I'm putting it in great for now. And yeah, that concludes Master of Puppets. All right, now we get to And Justice for All. This is my favorite Metallica album. Now, I know people dislike it, and I fully understand and I agree with the complaints on this album. Really, the main complaint is the lack of bass, the literal lack of bass. Like, they literally turned down Jason's bass all the way down because I guess the bass was messing with the mix, which is bullshit. Very unfair to Jason Newsted because when you do hear the songs with bass, they sound infinitely better. But to me, the album itself, besides that shortcoming, is still amazing. The tone, the lyrics, the progression, the instrumentation, the vocals, the solos, everything. I'm very biased towards this album. It was one of the first albums that I had ever bought, like a physical copy of. I remember it was Back in Black by AC/DC. It was Pyromania by Def Leppard, and it was And Justice for All by Metallica. Those are my first three albums that I had bought, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome to think about that. We start off the album with Blackened, which to me it would be the best opening track if the damn bass was on here. Battery is an amazing song, do not get me wrong, but Blackened, it's up there for me. Like, I remember hearing it for the first time, headphones on, full blast, and then you hear bum ba da da bum 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 bum. That's like an awful version of it. That's like the Saint Anger version, like just pounding on a desk as the snare drum. But yeah, I just love everything about this song. Like the fast, thrashy opening, cool verses, the time switches near the end, really cool verses, really unique bridge well, not unique, but it's like uh, a fun break after the second chorus, like the fun crowd song too. Really good Kirk solo as well. So yeah, favorite. And then we get the title track, And Justice for All. Very progressive song, 9 minutes, one of the longest Metallica songs in the studio. It's up there. This doesn't feel like a 9 minute song to me though. Has a really cool opening, and then you just hear ban 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 ban. Like a really unique drum and guitar uh, combination, like the so stupid. Um, yeah, really awesome song. The lyrics are really cool too. I love the chorus. I the riffs on this album and this song especially, they just pack a different punch. Like they're just really groovy and unique, thrashy, but still progressive. It's like pretty much the closest that Metallica ever got to being like a prog band, like prog thrashy, thrash prog, throg. Oh god. Anyways, enough talking about that. Let's just put it in favorite because it deserves it. So now we get to Eye of the Beholder. So this is I would say it's my least favorite song on the album, but that doesn't mean it's bad. To me, it's a song that I still love listening to, and it does a lot of cool things. I love the progression, the the verses, the instrumentation. I remember when If Darkness Had a Sun came out, a lot of people were comparing it to Eye of the Beholder because of just how simple the thrashy chugginess of the song was, and how the verses, they had like their own unique complexity and progression. And I do agree with that, although Eye of the Beholder is a much better take on that style of song. The chorus is very cool, unique for Metallica. Solo is very underrated. I love the harmonies as well. I wouldn't put it in underrated. I think it's still a really great song. A song that they never play live, and I mean never. Like they'll tease it with a jam, but they'll never actually play it live, which is unfortunate because I think it's a really solid song. And then we get to One. Oh man, this was one of the first Metallica songs that I listened to. I had listened to Enter Sandman, Unforgiven, pretty much like most of the Black album at that point, but then I heard One. I remember exactly where I was. I was playing the Dying Light 1 demo, and I had it playing on Spotify. I was just listening to it while I was killing zombies. I was like, wow, this is a really good song. And then as it built and built and built, you got to the infamous. And I actually dropped my controller. I was like, oh my god! Like, not like that, but like I was that shocked. Like I was like, holy shit! And then I actually rewinded it to hear it again. And you get the infamous darkness imprisoning me. All I see, absolute horror. I cannot live. Like, and then you get the solo section. Oh my god, it's probably my favorite section of any Metallica song as far as heavy goes. Like, it's mind blowing to me. Like, I remember listening to it yesterday. I was in a waiting room, and I had actually like put the first four albums on in order to prepare for this video. And I remember just hearing that. I was just like, oh my god, like this is bliss. Like this is bliss. This is heaven to me. Like just hearing this song, like that part of the song. Yeah. I mean, the song itself, I love it. It has unique harmonies and great solos. Really awesome rhythm riffs, and it has a very good build. Like it's basically Fade to Black and Sanitarium combined. It has like a unique atmosphere, but it still has like those messages, that theme, and it sticks to it the whole way through. And then it just builds to that heavy section, and it's just so freaking good. I love it so much. So yeah, this deserves to be in my favorites. And the same thing could be said for Shortest Straw, honestly. It's kind of hard for me to believe that there's someone out there that thinks Shortest Straw is their least favorite song. I don't agree with that at all. I fell in love with it the first time I heard it. It has a really solid opening, like the bum 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 bum. And you get to the verse like the like really thrashy, chuggy, fast, but not too fast. Like it's like a reasonable, like not faster than Blackened, but it still has that complexity to it. One of Kirk's best solos, in my opinion, just like Disposable Heroes. Like this is like the deep cut of the album that deserves more appreciation, and it's a pleasant surprise whenever they do play it live. So it's got to go in favorite for me. Harvester of Sorrow. I mean, it's a really solid song, honestly. It was basically the blueprint for what Sad But True would eventually become. To me, I think Sad But True is kind of better, maybe. I don't know. They're kind of on the same level to me personally. They're both really solid, chuggy, heavy songs. Like, I don't want to put the whole album in my favorite, but it's kind of hard not to, because there's just every song is good. Every song is great. Every song you can just jump into and listen to whenever. The only bad thing that all songs have in common with is the lack of bass. And I feel like it's really noticeable on this song, especially the intro, like the bum bum ba bum 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 bum, like, and then you have like the drums, like the toms going off. Like hearing it live is great because the bass is there and it's really chuggy. But Where do I want to put it? Hmm. It's a song I do love hearing. Here, I'll fill up the great. I'll put it in great for now. Freight Ends Insanity. So just like Shortest Straw and Disposable Heroes, this is a deep track or a deep cut that I love. It's just a song I've always loved. Well, maybe not always. This was actually a song that I would skip more often than not. But then when I actually started to listen to it a few years back, I was like, why did I skip this? This song is great. I think what really put me off of it was the oh way oh yo, like that opening. It's just so goofy and silly even for Metallica. But then when you get the like then like when the song actually starts going, you get through the verses, you get through that chorus, get through another verse section, and then you get to that unique harmony section right before the like that is one of my favorite riffs. I again I can't do it justice because I can't play it on guitar. I'm not that good. I'm not good at guitar. I'm sorry. But yeah, Freight Ends Insanity. It's just a song I've always, well, not always, but I've really learned to love and appreciate more as I've gotten older. The live version is great too. Um, yeah, Kirk has another really good solo. Yeah, this deserves to be my favorite. And the same can be said for Two Lives to Die. I mean, oh my god, this song. It's just like Orion. Like it has a very simple but effective chuggy main riff like the ba-na, ba-ba-na, ba-na, ba-bum-ba-na, ba-na, 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 ba-na. But just like Orion, really the thing that sticks out to me the most on this song is that clean section where it's just calm. It's like tranquility. And they even have like a reference. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but they do have like a reference to Cliff Burton's bass on Orion and even the beginning of Damage Incorporated. It's just a really beautiful section. Um, the tone on this album again is just really good to me. But then it picks back up. It's not technically an instrumental. Like they do have words right at the end. I think it was something that Cliff Burton actually wrote himself, so that was like a really nice tribute. So it's not technically an instrumental, but it's almost a 9-minute song. So like to me, most of that is instrumentation, is an instrumental. So and of course it has a beautiful opening and closing acoustic section. It's just yeah, and then it builds right into or it builds up and it goes right into Dyer's Eve right after that. Oh my god, Dyer's Eve. When I first heard this song, like it blew me away. Just like how Battery did. To me, this is the best closing track for any Metallica album, and I think I'll die on that hill. Like it has a really unique opening and then you just go into that main riff like I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it justice because it sounds really annoying when I do it. But the verses, the progression, just the speed of the song in general. The fact that they can actually still pull it out sometimes, that sounds really bad. The fact that they actually still do this song sometimes and they're able to still kill it, it's pretty nice. I don't think they should play this every single night, of course, but it is just such a unique and pleasant surprise whenever they do play it. And Dyer's Eve, man, it's just like it's what a closing track to me should be on a metal album. Like it's fast, it's thrashy, it's still unique, and it doesn't try to waste your time too much. It's only 5 minutes, but it goes by so quickly. So yeah, to me, this is definitely in my favorites. I mean, it has everything to me. It's a great song. It's in that list of like my top 20 favorite Metallica songs. I don't know where it would be, but it's up there. And then we got done with And Justice for All. Hallelujah. All right, and now we come to one of the most controversial albums in not just in Metallica's discography, but in all of metal, pretty much. The infamous self-titled album from Metallica, otherwise known as the Black Album. So I'm not one of those people that hates this album. I think that honestly it has aged pretty well, all things considering. I did have that phase around 2 years ago where I did not like it, or I just never really listened to any of the songs. I didn't care for Enter Sandman, didn't care for Sabbath True, all these other songs. The Black Album just kind of drifted away from me for a while, but then recently I started really listening to it a lot over the last year and a half, and it still holds up. Still a pretty good album. I mean, I'm grateful for it existing. I think that the reason it doesn't affect me as much is because I wasn't alive during that time period. I feel like maybe if I was born in the 70s and I actually grew up with Metallica through the 80s and then we got to the Black Album, maybe I would feel a little bit more bitter towards it, but then again, knowing me, probably not. So, anyways, we got Enter Sandman to rank. So this is obviously not an underrated song, but it's also a song I don't hate. It's a song that I do like hearing every now and then, not all the time, but it's a fun song. But I will agree that it is definitely, and I mean definitely, overplayed. But sometimes I think that songs are overplayed because maybe they're just good. I do agree that there are a lot more fun and a lot better Metallica songs to listen to. Some of them I've already ranked, but Enter Sandman is still a fun and good song for Metallica. Really, the only thing that is cheesy to me is just the lyrics. That's it. But I guess when you're in the moment and you're at a concert and you're singing along to it, it's just like it feels natural. So someone will disagree with me. I don't care. This is going in great. Now we get Sabbath True. So this is definitely another overplayed song, but it is very, very, very good. Very good. One of Metallica's heaviest riffs, like bam, bum bum ba na 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 ba, bum bum ba na 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 ba, bum bum ba na 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 ba na na na, bum bum ba 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 ba, bum bum, and you hear, hey, I'm your life, I'm the one who takes you there. Hey, like it's just again, just like Enter Sandman. Hearing it live, you can't help but sing along to it. Like it's just a fun song, heavy, slow, it's slow and heavy. I wouldn't say it's like methodical. I was just about to do that, but it's just a really fun crowd song. It's a song I never get tired of hearing, and it's just infectious too. So Sabbath True goes in there. So now we get Holier Than Thou. So I feel like if this song had a little bit more layer to it, it could be a great song. I do think it is very underrated though. It's a fun song that comes on every now and then in Metallica concerts. It's just a simple, thrashy-esque song. Kind of like Enter Sandman, really the thing that's just cheesy to me about it is the lyrics, but other than that, it's still really cool. Jason Newsted gets to shine a little bit on the bass on this song, which makes up for the poor treatment of him on the Injustice for All album, which he also gets to shine on two other songs, which is good later on. Yeah, Holier Than Thou, to me, I think it fits right with Jump in the Fire and Escape in the underrated section. And then we get to the Unforgiven. A long time ago, this actually was my favorite Metallica song because I had not discovered One or Fade to Black back then, and there was just something about this song that I loved so much. It was the second song that I had discovered after Enter Sandman. I know, I'm a casual, whatever. Whatever. Um, yeah, The Unforgiven is arguably my favorite song of the singles on the Black Album, and I think it might be my favorite off the Black Album in general. It just has that heavy ballad feel. The chorus is so infectious, and Kirk's solo, man, it's so simple compared to a lot of his other improvisations, but it just gets you right. It just gets you, man. At least it does that for me. I love this song. It never gets old. It's timeless. I love when they play it live. It still sounds pretty good. I gotta put it in favorite. Now, wherever I may roam, so this morning I was content with putting it in neutral But after just re-listening to it this morning when I was mowing the grass, I was like, wow, what was I thinking? This song is actually great. I do agree that is like it's like another one of the overplayed songs, but we haven't gotten to the most overplayed song besides Enter Sandman. We'll get to there in a second. Wherever I may roam though, it's just again just like a lot of the other songs on this album. It's just fun to listen to. Like there's really nothing wrong with it, and I love like Nomad Vagabond, call me what you will. Like it reminds me of how I feel whenever I play an RPG. You make your character, you start roaming around, you start doing your quests, people don't like you. I don't know. It's just to me it reminds me of like playing Elder Scrolls or Fallout, like Nomad Vagabond. You know, you just wander around. I love how World of Warcraft ever actually references that. Really, the only thing that is negative to me is just the solo. This was the album where Kirk really started to experiment with the wah pedal. It's pretty funny. But other than that, the song is still pretty good. Unique verses, cool composition. Yeah, wherever I may roam, it's gonna go into great. All right, now we finally reach a Metallica song that I don't like that much. This is my least favorite song on the Black Album, and it's one of my least favorite songs in Metallica's discography. Now, I don't really have a good reason for disliking this song. It's just whenever you say Metallica, this is a song I don't think of immediately. Like I actually had to like dig deep into the annals of history to remember how the song sounded, and that's definitely overdramatic. But I listened to it again today, and I was like, yeah, like it's kind of like the rest of the songs on this album. Like it's a fun song to hear every now and then, especially live. But when I'm listening to Metallica, this is just one of those songs that when it comes on, I skip it because there's just so many other better songs to listen to. And I should make this very clear. Just because it's in this category, that doesn't mean that they're bad songs. These are just not songs that I particularly listen to that much. And whenever I do get the chance to hear them, it's not really by choice. Like I just want to. It's for videos like this or just for discussions. I think that Don't Tread on Me is fine, but it's not that great. So let's move on. So Through the Never, just like Holier Than Thou, it's a little bit of a thrashy-esque song. It's pretty solid, not gonna lie. I wouldn't put it up there with like my favorites, but I think that it's one of the more standout tracks on the Black Album. It has a good energy, and it's a fun song to hear live every now and then. I love the breakdown riff, like the ba ba da ba da ba da ba da. Wait, that's not how it goes. That's awful, but you get what I'm trying. I hope you get. If you don't know what the riff sounds like, just go listen to it. Just go listen to the song. I wouldn't say it's underrated compared to Holier Than Thou because they do play this one a lot more often compared to Holier Than Thou. So I put this in great. And then we get to Nothing Else Matters, the second most overplayed song on the Black Album. Now, look, I know a lot of people hate this song. I know a lot of people hate Enter Sandman. To me, you know a band is special when they can make something heavy like Master of Puppets and Justice for All, Kill 'Em All, or even Ride the Lightning, but then they can they can just make something like Nothing Else Matters. Or even better, when they can make a heavy song like Blackened, and then they strip it down with acoustics, and they turn it into an acoustic song. Like that's how you know a band is special. Like when they're that creative and they can do that. Now, obviously, anybody can. Well, not anybody can do that, but you know what I'm trying to say. My point is, Nothing Else Matters to me is a very good song. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I never get tired of hearing it. Just that intro, the verses, the beauty of the song. Like, it's just so. I don't want to say majestic, but it's infectious, and I love hearing it with the San Francisco Symphony. I don't really like the original version of the song with the on SNM1. I prefer the SNM2 version, honestly. It's just a personal preference. Yeah, I really love Nothing Else Matters. It's a good song, and I love James's solo. It's iconic. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in favorite. I mean, someone's always gonna get mad at me for no matter what I do. So next we got Of Wolf and Man. This isn't really a standout track on the album to me, but it is very overlooked. It's very underrated. It's a very fun song to hear every now and then live. You know, I love how it builds and it builds, and you eventually get to that final chorus. James like of wolf and man, yeah, and then like ends the song. It's a pretty catchy song. It's a song I find myself listening or singing randomly every now and then. Under the new day's mist I run. Like it's infectious. So I'll put it in underrated. So now we got The God That Failed. Back in ninth grade when I was just discovering Metallica, this was actually my favorite heavy Metallica song at one point. I love Kirk's guitar solo. So freaking good, man. Really good solo. But the song itself is really, it's deep. It's deep. It gets you in the feels, but it's also very heavy. It has like a but very simple but effective riff. The tone on this album really supports these riffs so much. I love just about everything on this song. I love the intro bass and drum with Jason and Lars. It's really simple but effective. Again, it's very punchy. And yeah, this song just kicks ass. And whenever they do play it live, they tune down a little bit. I think they go like to drop D, which is the same for Sad But True, and it sounds even heavier. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yeah, I'd put this in favorite, honestly. It's a standout song. And the same thing can be said for My Friend in Misery. I think that this would have made a better closing track than The Struggle Within, but we'll get to that in a second. My Friend in Misery, there's a lot of people that say that this song should have been an instrumental, and I can sort of agree with that, but I also don't agree with that. I think that the lyrics are great. I think the chorus is great, verses are great. I love the riffs. Jason's bass again gets a chance to shine throughout the song. It's really nice. The solo is very, Kirk Hammett, but it's good. I love that clean break after the second chorus, and then I love especially when the song dies down a little bit and it's just the bass playing. It's really cool. It kind of reminds me of that middle section. It kind of reminds me of Orion a little bit. It's not like or maybe To Live Is to Die, like if they had like a little bit of a baby. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool song. Yeah, and I love the fact that they make a sequel to it all these years later in the year of our Lord 2023 with Inamorata. So that's also pretty cool. This deserves to go in my favorites. And now we get to The Struggle Within. So The Struggle Within, like I just said, I don't really think it's a great closing track. It's definitely one of the weaker ones that Metallica has in their discography. Like it's all right. It's an all right song, but I never go out of my way to listen to it too much. But that being said, I do really like the intro. I like how it's reminiscent of the And Justice for All tone and the drums. It sounds really cool. And when the verses kick in, it's a very simple but effective riff. Chorus again, very simple compared to other songs they've done. The solo is very classic Kirk, but again, it's not a bad thing. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a middle of the road song for me. Like, let me put it this way. If you forced me to cut two songs from this album, I would pick Don't Tread on Me and The Struggle Within. That's how I feel about it. But I still think that Struggle Within is still a decent song, and I do like whenever they pull it out live. It's not too often, but it happens, so I'll put it in neutral. So now we finally got something in neutral and something in I skipped these. So there we go. We're making progress, folks. And now we got Load coming up. All right, gang. Now we've got Load, the second most infamous Metallica album. There's one more that we'll get to in around about 30, 40 minutes, give or take. This is going to be a long video. So, Load was when Metallica drastically changed. At least with the Black Album, they kept elements of thrash in their songs, but this was the first time where they drastically changed their style from thrash metal to a bit of a more hard rock, southern rock feel. And for all things considered, I'm glad they did. Mix it up a little bit. I do appreciate when a band sticks with their classic sounding sound, but I also do appreciate a band that knows how to diversify their music a little bit. Just take a little bit of a risk. And if it doesn't work, then don't do it again. Megadeth learned that the hard way. I'm just kidding. Slayer learned that the hard way too, to be fair, with their late 90s new metal album, whatever the hell that was called. It wasn't really good, I know that. I mean, some bands are just meant to stick with one sound for the rest of their life and be content with that. But like I said, all things considered, I'm glad that Metallica did do Load and Reload and even Saint Anger to a certain extent. We'll get there eventually. Um, yeah, I think that with the power of hindsight and with the power of not being born in the 80s or the 90s, I have just learned to appreciate these albums a lot more because of the way that I am. I mean, life's too short to be bitter towards something, especially something as lovely as music, no matter what genre you listen to. Just, like, yeah, I have my bands that I don't listen to, I have my artists I don't care about, I have my genres that I don't care about, but, it's just, like I said, life's too short to be bitter about, especially about something like that. So, anyways, Load. So, we start with the opening track, Ain't My Bitch. So, in my opinion, this is the weakest opening track of any of the Metallica albums. I'm just going to say it. It's definitely the weakest one. Now, in this song's defense, it's a guilty pleasure song. It's a guilt Oh, what the Okay. Guilty pleasure song. God. Um, it's a song that I like listening to every now and then. I do sing along to the verses like "Out of my way, out of my day, out of your mind and into my." And it has like a really catchy main riff, like the banana 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 banana. Very catchy and very underrated riff from James Hetfield. That being said, I think that the song itself, it's just okay. Like it's not anything to write home about. It's a fun song to listen to every now and then, but I'm just gonna be honest. It's neutral. Oop, that's fuel. I did not mean to grab that song. Let's put that back where it belongs. There. Ain't my bitch. In neutral. And the same could be said for 2x4, honestly. Now, I do really appreciate how 2x4 has more of a Sabbathy groove inspired to it. Let me rephrase that. I like how 2x4 has a Sabbathy inspired groove, especially with like the main riff, like the banana, ba banana, ba banana, ba banana, ba banana, ba banana. It actually kind of sounds like "Hole in the Sky." Now that I just did that by Black Sabbath, it's just like that's actually pretty cool. Um, just like "Ain't My Bitch," it's kind of just like a guilty pleasure song. Like I catch myself singing along to it. I can't hear you talking to I for yeah. Like it just has that feeling to it. But yeah, just like Ain't My Bitch, it's just a very I don't want to say it's a weak song, but it's just not really what I would have chosen to open a Metallica album, even if it is a hard rock version of it. So yeah, I'm just gonna put it in neutral and move on. So now we get the house Jack built. So if you would have asked me to do this a year ago, I would have said house Jack built also goes in neutral, or I skipped these. But I've listened to it a lot recently, and I'm like, you know what? This song, like, it's a weird one. It's weird. It's a weird one. But the verses and the chorus and the solo section to a certain extent, they're all very unique. It's different. I'm glad that Metallica didn't really make it a habit to do these types of songs, but I think that it's still creative and, it's interesting. It's a little bit more interesting than some of the other songs on this album. So it has that going for it. I think it's like a 6-minute song almost too, which is kind of weird. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna put it in underrated. So finally, we get to a great song with "Until It Sleeps." This was the first single released off of the album. I'm sure the music video release for it caused quite a storm, especially if people didn't like Enter Sandman and Nothing Else Matters. This is just a very nice, simple song, radio friendly, yes, but it's Metallica, man. I mean, that's my answer to that. Like, it's Metallica, man. But in all seriousness, I've never had a problem with the song. Just like House Jack built, it's just a very unique song for Metallica compared to what they've done in the past with the thrashy songs. And I love thrash, don't get me wrong, but I also do appreciate rock because that's where metal came from, just like how rock came from blues and jazz. Just like how that came from, and then it goes on and on and on. I just appreciate music in most forms. But Until It Sleeps, I do really like it. I love the fact that they've started to play it live recently. It's definitely a welcome change of pace in the usual set list, and I think that honestly it's a great song. It's up there. So King Nothing, take what I said for Until It Sleeps and then apply that to King Nothing, although it is much more of a traditional hard rock song. And I do love the lyrics, like be careful what you wish for, you might just get it. It's a very good song. I remember actually me and my mom, we were driving with someone who had never heard Metallica, never heard metal music. They never listened to it. She puts that song on and he's like, "Oh my god, that was amazing." Like, "Oh, like that was so good." And then she's like, "Yep. You can blame my mom for my music taste." So at the time of recording, it's actually her birthday. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, King Nothing. Again, it's a welcome surprise to hear live every now and then. Live version is definitely better, in my opinion, in some cases. I love how they reference Enter Sandman at the end, like "Off to Never Never Land." Like, it's just really cool. I like that subtle nod to it. So I'd put this in favorite. It's a song I never get tired of hearing. So Hero of the Day, the first. Well, no, I wouldn't say the first, but it's definitely one of the more ballady type songs on this album. I do really enjoy it. It's a very fun, well, I wouldn't say it's a fun song, but it's definitely a really nice song. Slow, has good build up, has a really good break section after the second chorus, very simple and effective. Decent Kirk solo, still very unique verses for Metallica compared to what they've done in the past. Do I put it in favorite? No, not necessarily, but I would put it in great. I wouldn't say it's underrated, but it is a great song. And then we get to Bleeding Me. This is the first of the Load and Reload trilogy of songs that I think are great. And they're up there in my favorite. And all three of those songs are also go 8 to 9 minutes for almost each of them. So spoiler alert. Bleeding Me is just a very good song to me. I love the slow build up to the distortion and that little lead part during the first verse, and it goes right back to the calm section, and it builds right up to the first chorus. Like caught on the wheels roll. I take that leech, I'm bleeding me. Like, it's just a very good song. I love the lyrics. It's very, I'm sure it's like a very touchy subject for James Hetfield because, it was about like alcohol addiction and how it was, it can be compared to that. I think it's just like really addiction of any kind, to be honest. Yeah, Bleeding Me it's a standout song, just like a lot of songs on Load and Reload. It's a very welcome change of pace in the set list whenever they do bring out one of these songs. Bleeding Me especially is just a really nice song to hear live, especially with the orchestra. And of course, after the second chorus, like the bam ba bam ba bam 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 bam, really good, bridge riff, break riff, whatever you want to call it. I actually remember there was a time period when I first bought this album and I started listening to it. For some reason, I always skipped Bleeding Me. I just didn't like the way that it sounded in the opening. I just took that as a good sign to stop. And I did the same thing for Outlaw Torn. And oh boy, that was a mistake for both of those songs. But when I actually did listen to it, I was like, oh my god, what have I been missing? How many other songs have I not discovered? So yeah, Bleeding Me it's up there in my favorites for sure. This is a pretty stacked list so far, I will say, and we're not even done. We're not even close to done yet. Make sure is this? So yeah, for some reason this keeps going out of order every time I leave the page and go back. So I gotta keep that in mind. All right, so next up we get to Cure. So to me, Cure is just bow 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 now now bow now now bow 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 now now. Like that's basically the whole song to me. Like it's a good riff, you know, it's simple, effective. It's not really interesting. To me, it kind of sounds like this album's version of Don't Tread on Me. Like, yeah, it's different compared to a lot of the other songs, just like House Jack built. But to me, this just doesn't really do anything for me. Like, it's not a song I hate. I don't hate any Metallica song as long as it's not on Lulu. But this song in particular, it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It doesn't do anything for me. So this is a song I skip. And take what I just said and apply that to Poor Twisted Me. I'm not even going to waste too much time talking about Poor Twisted Me. I don't really understand its existence. Like it's still different. It's still different and unique, which I appreciate. But to me, again, it's just a song that doesn't do anything for me. I don't really get anything from it. At least with a song like Mama Said, I get something from that. So we'll get there in a sec. So if you asked me to cut some songs from Load to make it better, I would cut Cure and Poor Twisted Me. That's just how I feel. So anyways, moving on. Wasting My Hate. When I heard this song live during the 40th anniversary celebration of Metallica, I legit lost my mind. I was like, oh my god, they actually played Wasting My Hate. Now, it wasn't like the first time ever playing it or anything, but it's just like, it's that rare of a song. So like when you do hear it, it's like, oh my god, like that's so cool. And it's a really fun song. Like it has a nice little build up, a clean section, and then the only thing that kills that opening is Lars not being patient. Like if he would have just been patient for like 5 seconds before triggering the drums into the intro riff, if that makes sense. Like you have to listen to the song, but that's the only thing that irks me about that intro. Everything else about the song is pretty cool. If I remember correctly, this is a song that doesn't have a guitar solo. Oh, that's it's interesting. Oh my god, what's a Metallica song without a guitar solo? Oh my god. But no, in all seriousness, I wouldn't put this in the greats or my favorite, but I think it fits perfectly into underrated. It's a very cool song. All right, so Mama Said. So this is a song I do like. I do think it's underrated. Most definitely I do. I'm glad that this song exists. I do also understand where people are coming from because up to this point, every song that I've listed, it's still like in the hard rock or at least on the list of being metal, if that makes sense. This is the only time that Metallica had recorded a song of their own that was drifting more and more closer to country or just another genre entirely. And I get it. People don't like that. I don't like that to a certain extent. It really just depends on the band. I, for one, think this song is unique in good and bad ways. I don't really think there's anything wrong with the song, but to me personally, it's just a song that I just don't want to listen to all the time. Like, so I think that while I would love to put it in underrated, I do think that it fits perfectly into neutral. It's a song that it's kind of hard for me to explain, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it in neutral and move on. So Thorn Within. This was another song from Load that I remember just not really listening to that much until a few years ago, and I was like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. Like I like the main riff, like the bow now bow now bow now bow now bum bum bow bow now bow now bow now. Actually, sounds like another song that I know. Yeah, it sounds like South of Heaven. That's funny. I didn't even know that. I didn't even notice that until just now. I just blew my mind with that. Okay, Thorn Within. I wouldn't say it's a great song. I do like it, so I think it fits perfectly into underrated. It's a pretty cool song. Still has that creativity that House Jack built, but it has that hard rock feel that's recognizable, like Wasting My Hate. So I think that's cool. And then same thing could be said for Ronnie. I love the Leonard Skinner influence. That was a huge influence for James Hetfield, so it was really cool that they got to release their own little version of a Leonard Skinner, like a Leonard Skinner-esque type of song, Southern rock. It tells a cool story about a guy named Ronnie. I forget the exact context of it. I just remember how infectious that chorus is. Like, say, lost my way, this bloody day. Like, it's just very, very catchy in a good way. I love the main riff, like the bow 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 bow. It's just, I don't know. It's just a very, it's a weird fit for Metallica, I will agree, but it is a sound I don't mind hearing. So I think underrated is cool. And then we finally get to Outlaw Torn. So just like Bleeding Me, this was a song that I had skipped for so many months into the first year of my Metallica binge. And then I finally listened to it after hearing Bleeding Me, and I was blown away. I was like, what? It's a song that I didn't really grow to appreciate until a few years after that. I love it. I mean, I love the fact that it's like a 9 minute song that just doesn't even feel like 9 minutes. I love the riffs, like the ba 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 ba. Like I love the verses. I love how it's just drums and bass for most of the verses. I love the build up. I love the chorus. It's kind of a chorus, kind of. Solo is like very typical Kirk Hammett at this point, but it's still really cool. And I love the James solo section at the end. I do agree that I can understand what people mean when it's too long. I sort of agree with that, but it's like sometimes a long song can be really fun, and this is one of those examples. Just fun. To me, I don't think it's like on the level of Iron Maiden's Empire of the Clouds, which goes to 18 minutes, and it doesn't feel like 18 minutes to me. But to me, this is a really fun song, and I love hearing the live version too. It's just a very welcome change, especially with the orchestra. So this goes into my favorites, unsurprisingly. We gotta start filling up these other tiers before someone accuses me of being a fan of Metallica. Oh, that's so hurtful. Alright, so now we get to Reload, an album that came right after Load, hence the name Reload. You see what they did there. Do you see? Anyways, I think that this is a pretty decent follow-up. It takes a lot of the sound of Load and it turns it into more of a traditional hard rock album, especially around the time period. There's still that southern rock influence with a few of the songs, which is cool. But yeah, okay. So, anyways, we start off with Fuel. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh, like it gets you right away. I will say I do really like the live version. I think I would actually prefer the live version over the studio version, but the studio version is still pretty cool. The live version can seem a little bit more disjointed and just more, random. Lars. Fuel, I think it's up there with one of the better closing or opening tracks of Metallica's discography, in my opinion. It just gets you immediately with a catchy opening, cool chorus, cool riffs. I love that break section after the second chorus, like the ooh yeah, bum 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 bum. Yeah, so I think that all that being said goes into favorite. Next up, we got The Memory Remains. Fortune, fame, mirror vein, gone insane, but the memory remains. Just like Fuel, it gives you an immediate recognizable opening. It's a fun live song too, especially like when you hear the crowd singing along to that and the da 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 or da 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 da. It's just a very fun song overall. Do I want to put this in favorite? Um, hmm. I could, but I think that maybe it would be more fitting for great. Until maybe I'll probably change my mind. So now we get to Devil's Dance. Very cool song, very reminiscent of The God That Failed from the Black Album. It has that same type of feel, honestly, with the drums and bass intro in the beginning, and then it goes into the slow build up to the verses. I feel you too. Feel those things you do. Like it's a fun song to sing along to every now and then. It has a cool chorus, pretty cool solo. I love the riffs. They're very simple, but again, effective. I think it fits perfectly into great for now. I wouldn't say it's underrated. Well, I mean, well, yeah, okay. How about this? I'll put it in underrated. Mainly because it doesn't really get to that next level, if that makes sense, like a lot of these other songs do. I don't know. I'll just leave it underrated for now. So next up we got The Unforgiven 2. This is like the more southern rock influence version of The Unforgiven from the Black Album. It tells the same story. I do really like the Unforgiven trilogy. I like how it kind of goes backwards, I think, if I remember correctly. But I do really like how the first song, it was like dealing with, growing up, childhood, all that stuff. And then this song is about dealing, like with your first love and just trying to cope with that, I guess. I don't know. It's a really cool song. That's what I'm trying to say. It's fun to sing along to. It still has a lot of influence from the first song to make it still recognizable. But just like a few other songs from Load to Reload, it's a very rare song to hear live, and when they do pull it out, it's like, wow, this is different. I like change sometimes. Rock on, man. So stupid. I put it in great. I don't want to say it's underrated because I do think it is a really good song. So, Better Than You. So, this is a song kind of like Ain't My Bitch and 2x4. It's really a song that I like for the main riff only. Except it does have a few other things that I like. I like the lyrics, sort of. It's mainly the verses. The chorus can kind of get like a little repetitive after a while. It's just better than you, better than you, oh, better than you. It's a terrible. God, if I actually tried to sing those songs, I probably could pull it off, but I'm just memeing. But I really just like the main riff, like kind of sounds like Kickstart My Heart a little bit now that I really think about it. I just blew my mind with that. That's crazy. I would put this. I don't want to put it in underrated, but I think it fits perfectly into neutral for now. So, Slither. Fun fact, this song is actually structured almost the exact same as Enter Sandman, except to me, it's obviously inferior. Now, I do like the lyrics to this song. I like the chorus, like, don't go looking for snakes, you might find them. Like, it's a fun little song. I like the bow now out, bow now out. It's like I haven't even heard the song in a long time, and I still remember it. Do I want to put it in neutral? I could. It's not a bad song. It's just not up there. But I do like how it sounds. It's not like the greatest by any means, but I do like it. I tolerate it. We'll say that. I'll put it in neutral for now. All right, so Carpe Diem, baby. This is a very underrated song. I do like how on one of the recent, well, not recent, but I think on one of the Hardwired tour videos backstage, they actually jammed this song, and even James is like, "Wow, that's a really cool riff." And that made me think, well, we'll play it live then. Why don't you? I think that this is a really cool song. I think it goes like 5 or 6 minutes. Verses are very simple, but I do like the chorus. Wash your face away with dirt. It don't feel good until it hurts. So grab this world and shake it. Come squeezing songs a day. Come carpe diem, baby. I haven't heard this song in a long time, and I still remember that chorus. Wow, I'm actually shocked. I'm shocking myself a lot today. What is happening? But I don't think it's in the greats. I think it fits perfectly in underrated. Oop, wrong place. Underrated. Get over there. Okay. Take what I just said and apply it to Bad Seed. Although I do like how Bad Seed is it references Sweet Leaf from Black Sabbath, like with the coughing at the end. This is just another really solid song. I like the little build up, and James just is like bad, and then it goes into burn 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 burn. So stupid. I hate. Oh God. All right. So I think that Bad Seed. Um. Yeah, I think underrated is a pretty good spot. It's nowhere near a classic or anything like that, but it's still a song I like hearing every now and then. So Where the Wild Things Are, it's a very unique song, sound-wise. I like the. It sounds a lot like another Sabbathy influenced song. Really like the verses. I like the fact that it's one of. I think it's like one of the only songs that Jason Newsted contributed to writing, which is weird. I like the atmosphere of the song too, if that makes sense. Kind of like Sanitarium, it has like a little dark atmosphere. I like the verse riff too. I forget how it goes, or I probably just can't hum it. Like I don't know how to do it. I actually did it. I did it. I actually forgot how it sounded, but then I remembered, and then I was like, oh, okay, let me just do that real quick. That was really cool. Uh, I would put this in great, honestly. It's a pretty good standout song from Reload, in my opinion. It's pretty good. Prince Charming. The one thing I don't really like about this song, to be honest, is just the lyrics. I don't know, it's just not really for me. But the instrumentation, it brings a similar energy like Fuel to the album. Has that same kind of tempo and feel. I like the riffs. Helps elevate this album a little bit more. So I think for that reason, I don't want to say it's an underrated song, but it kind of is, you know. Hmm. This is tough. This is tough. Do I want to put it in underrated or great? Uh, I'll put it in underrated for now. For now. It's a song I like hearing, but not like all the time, obviously. And the same thing can be said for Low Man's Lyric, although I will praise this song. It's very unique. It's a very unique sounding song. It goes 8 minutes, which is kind of strange, but I also don't mind that. It's very unique. It takes that same type of feel from Mama Said, and it kind of copies it and pastes it. Kind of copied and pasted it, but it just adds like a lot more layers. Like there's more. It feels more atmospheric, if that makes sense. Kind of like Where the Wild Things Are. They actually have played this live before. I just don't remember in which concert it was. It's pretty cool. You know, I'll put this in underrated. Why not? I think it's a pretty good song. Now we get to Attitude. So this song has always made me laugh during the pre-chorus. Like James just like, I hunger, I eat, born into attitude. I sleep at the wheel. Oh God, I'm sorry. It's just I don't know why that makes me laugh so much every time, but it's just funny to me. I think if I'm being honest, this song would fit into neutral. I do like the bow na 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 bow na 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 bow na 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 bow 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 bow. Kind of like Prince Charming. It does add a little bit more energy to the album. I do like it, but I don't know. It's just not for me. So I'll put it in neutral. And we finally get to Fixer. This is the third song on the Load and Reload trilogy of great long songs that I love a lot. It's definitely in my favorites. And just like Outlaw, Torn, and Bleeding Me, this is a song that I have always skipped. I always skipped in my first year of loving Metallica. I just didn't like how long the introduction was, but then when I actually listened to it, I was like, it's like a little baby, like discovering that he can do like a thumbs up, like, oh, I can do that. What is wrong with me today? Yeah, I just love the banana banana bono banana 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 banana. Love the verses, love the lyrics, love the solo. It's just a really cool song. I love the fact that they played it live at the 40th anniversary. Like it wasn't word for word or picture perfect like a lot of people like a lot of people wanted. I didn't care though. Just the fact that they played it live, that was like incredible to me. And even James said after like 40 years later and there's still surprises. You know, that's like really cool that they can pull off such a great song played live for the first time as long as they've been doing music for. It's really cool. I love the chorus too. So yeah, really awesome song. Really good closing track. If you had to make me choose between Outlaw Torn and Fixer as like which is the better song, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. Honestly, I love both. And I love how both of these songs and Orion inspired, well, and My Friend of Misery inspired another certain closing track in the year of our Lord 2023. But we'll get to that in 4 more albums. We're almost there. We're getting there. And now we've done it. We have reached Saint Anger, the third and final most controversial album, to a certain extent, in Metallica's discography. Now, look, I don't hate this album, but I will acknowledge this is definitely the weakest album in terms of quality. Now, that doesn't mean this is a bad album. I want to reiterate that. This is not a bad album. It's just plagued by bad issues. The biggest issue, obviously, is the production. I also do feel like most of the songs on this album are just not structured as good as they could be, but I think that was kind of the point of this album. Really, all of the rules were thrown out the window. They just wanted to jam, let out aggression. They didn't really care about ironing out all those issues. Like just release it as it is. Maybe not that mindset, but to be basically what I'm trying to say is that I do appreciate this album's existence, but I also will acknowledge it's just not an album I would love to listen to all of the time. But when it does come on, it's like, it's good. I like it. And I especially love it with the cleaned up snare drum. Because I think that's really, at the end of the day, I feel like that's the reason most people hate this album, in all fairness. I think if they just had to pick one reason to hate this album, it would be this because pretty much everything else is pretty solid. Like lyrically, it's obviously a step down in quality, but to me, I feel like if any other band from this time period released this album, like a new metal band like Korn or whatever, I feel like this would have been praised as a masterpiece. But because Metallica did it, that's why people hate it. Because I feel like a lot of people know that they can do better. But anyways, this was kind of a road back to the thrash metal roots for Metallica. It didn't really kick off until Death Magnetic, which we will get to, and I will love when we get there. Uh, there are some thrashy elements on this album, and the first song is example of that. Frantic. This album opened with a banger, easily the best song on the album, and they put it as the opening track. Even without a guitar solo, this song is great. Even with the snare, the song is great. The live version is infinitely better, I will be honest, or at least the DVD version, like where they played all the songs in the studio front to back. I love that version too, like because it's still relatively recent. The song is great though. I love the riff, like the very catchy and easy to sing along verses. Really cool intro, really cool break section. Um, yeah, this is one of my favorites, and it was from Saint Anger. Wow, who would have thought? Now, speaking of Saint Anger, we get to the title track itself. Now, look, I do think this song is very heavy. It's very heavy. That being said, I don't really have a good reason for saying this, but this song is just not for me. It's definitely, I would say it's the weakest of the title tracks in Metallica's discography. Out of all of them, I think this is the weakest. Now, the live version is great. I love the live version. It sounds really good live. Much better. So, it's not a song I skip, but it's also a song that I just don't particularly fancy that much. So, I think it fits perfectly into neutral. I love the main riff, like the kind of sounds like Creeping Death. That's obviously not how it sounds at all, but it does sound like Creeping Death a little bit. And obviously like when it picks up, but obviously when you're listening to that song full blast and then the drums kick in, that's when it's like, okay, oh boy, here we go. Or maybe that's just me. Okay, so we go from that to some kind of monster, and this is the part where I say something so controversial yet so brave. I don't like this song. I just don't. I just don't. It's not. I know. Take what I just. I know I said earlier that the composition of the songs didn't bother me, and I do still agree with that. That they don't bother me that much, but I still feel like this song just doesn't really have anything in it. It's really just like Cure. The only thing I remember from this song is the main riff, like the ba ba na na ba ba na ba na ba na ba na and that's great. That's a groovy and heavy riff, I will be honest, but everything else it just fades to black. But no, seriously, it's just to me this song is just very forgettable. Like I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. It just doesn't do anything for me. So I'm sorry to say it, but it's I skipped these. Now, Dirty Window, a song that has been recently finding itself into the set lists, which is really cool. It's nice that in more recent years, Metallica can play a song off of Saint Anger and people don't actually hate how it sounds live. I do think it's definitely a step up compared to the last two songs. It's not exactly on the same level as Frantic, but it's still a pretty fun song. I like the chorus. I like the verses. It's very fast compared to the other songs. A lot of the other songs on this album. Still groovy too, which I like. I'd put it in underrated, honestly. Now, Invisible Kid. So, just like the title track, Saint Anger, this is a song that I don't mind, but I also think that it's just not that great. I feel like both of these songs would have benefited from some more time, not just in the writing, but just in the ironing out process, if that makes sense. Invisible Kid, I really just like for that main riff, like that's pretty much it. I don't hate it though. I don't hate any of these songs, but I don't mind this one in particular. It's not a song I skip. It's just not a song that it's I would say it's my favorite or underrated. I mean, it's definitely an underrated song, but for me personally, I would just put it in neutral and move on. And now we get to My World. So this is just like Some Kind of Monster. This song just doesn't do anything for me. I like the riff at the beginning, like the bum 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 bum. Or wait, no, it's like bum 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 bum. Or wait, no, it's bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. It's very simple, very groovy, very heavy, but again, this song just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not a fan of the verses or the chorus. Like I feel like if any other band from this time period would have done the song, it would have been all right, but it's just It doesn't do anything for me when it's from Metallica. Like I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to sound like that metalhead from that time period that hated this album, but this song just doesn't do anything for me, just like Some Kind of Monster. It just doesn't do anything. So now I got Shoot Me Again. So this is kind of in the same boat as Dirty Window, although Shoot Me Again is a song they don't really play live too often. I feel like it would be a nice change of pace to bring back at some point, at some show. I feel like vocally it's one of James's best on the album. He kind of like goes crazy in the chorus. Like, all the shots you take, spit back at you. It's a pretty cool song. I love the intro lift, like the ba or riff. I said lift. Very simple, very effective, and it's very heavy. So I put it underrated. Now, finally, we get to a song from Saint Anger that's on the same level of Frantic. Maybe not quite a favorite of mine, but it's up there in the greats. Sweet Amber. It's a riff that I still have stuck in my head to this day. It's a very simple ba-na, 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 ba-ba, ba-na, ba-na, ba-ba, ba-na, ba-na, ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Wash your back so you don't step on. Get in bed with your own kind. Very cool song, and the riff that happens after the second chorus is probably my favorite riff on the album. Like the oh god, almost yeah, I love this song. It's pretty awesome. I'd put it in great. And then the same could be said for Unnamed Feeling. It's like the slow song of this album, but it's not a ballad in any means. In any means, it's actually a pretty kick-ass song. I love the riffs too. The tone of this album is very underrated because for this song it works so good. Like I love after that little intro, it goes into the ba 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 ba. It's been a while since I've heard it. I don't think it sounds quite like that, but it kind of has like a pinch harmonic to it. So it kind of has like that wee woo sound, like the that stuff. I need to stop talking. I do like it. I do like this song a lot. There's like a lot of passion in the vocal delivery. Um, I like how the vocals on this album they weren't trying to be perfect either. Like James was just like he was just singing, he was just doing it, you know. Kind of has like a Motorhead uh, mindset, you know. Like if it's perfect, then it's not rock and roll. It's not metal, you know. So I think Unnamed Feeling fits perfectly into great if I'm being honest with myself. And then we get to Purify. I don't care about the song. I'm sorry. I just don't. This is the last song. Spoiler alert. I'm just gonna say it right now. This is the last song that's going in the skip category. Everything else is above it. All right. Purify. It doesn't do anything for me. If you forced me to pick one song to cut from this album, just one, I think I would pick Purify. I think it would be Purify. I don't know. I don't know. If it was up to me, I would maybe cut Purify, My World, rewrite and re-record Some Kind of Monster. So cut these two and maybe trim Invisible Kid, and you have a pretty solid 9-track album. But we still got All Within My Hands to get to. Trim All Within My Hands as well, maybe. Just trim this, and then boom, you have a pretty solid album right there. Like it's 9 tracks, true, but it's something. By the way, I just realized I Disappear is not on here, but I'll get to that in a second. So All Within My Hands is it's a closing track for sure. I think it's the weakest closing track out of any of the other Metallica albums, if I'm being honest. It just doesn't have much to it. It has a very addicting verse. It's mainly like "all within my hands." Like it's just cool. Sounds cool. The intro is actually not terrible. I do like the build up to the verses. It kind of has like an unnamed feeling type, but I do also appreciate how it just doesn't give a single shit how you feel. Like it's just there in your face. The thing it's just like I think it's like a 9-minute song too, which is crazy. And I don't mind that, you know. I don't mind long songs. But do I put it in neutral? I definitely don't skip it. I think neutral is fitting. And what I mentioned earlier, so I Disappear, that is the song they did for the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, and I think that was the first song that featured the infamous Saint Anger tone and snare. If you would have asked me to rank that song, I would put it in I Skip These as well. I don't know, it's just not really that great of a song to me, even if it is catchy as hell. And we did it. We got through Saint Anger. We got 3 more albums to go. We're almost there. Alright, and we have made it to the final 3 albums. Let me just make sure that these are actually in order. Okay, so for some reason, this album, like I said earlier, it keeps going out of order. I don't know why. Alright, so Shadows Follow, Screaming Suicide, Sleep Lock My Wife Away, Sleep my wife away? You Must Burn, Lux Eterna, Crown of Barbed Wire. Okay, there we go. I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now we finally make it to Death Magnetic, a very underrated album, in my opinion. This was the classic throwback to Metallica's roots, the thrash metal. The only issue with this album still to this day is the production, just like Saint Anger, although it wasn't like nearly as bad. I mean, people just complained about this album being way too loud, which I just think is funny, you know. People, metalheads complaining about metal being really loud, that's just funny to me. But I know it goes a little bit more, it's a little bit more serious than that. I guess like some people's speakers would literally explode after playing this album on it, so that's kind of unfortunate. I also had an epiphany yesterday. I'm gonna put Harvester of Sorrow in my favorite section. I just really love this song. So I have the Beholder is still gonna be in great for now. All right. Anyways, so we open with That Was Just Your Life. This song took me by surprise when I first listened to it. I love the intro, very reminiscent of a classic opening track, kind of like a battery feel. and then you just go into the very fast, thrashy song. I love the verses. It's fun to sing along to. Chorus is pretty cool. I love after the second chorus, or after like there's like that harmony break near the end of the song, right before the third chorus. Really underrated part of this album. Really cool stuff. The solo is cool. Um, I wouldn't say it's like the best opening track, but I would say it's up there for sure. I put this in great. Next up, we got The End of Line. Honestly, the way that this song starts, it really reminds me of Some Kind of Monster. It's just a more structured version of Some Kind of Monster. Like it has that similar groove, like the and Lars literally reuses that groove, except it does sound a lot cleaner, which isn't really that true considering the drums still kind of sound like it still has that reminiscence of the Saint Anger drum tone, but it wasn't nearly as bad in my opinion. The song itself is really cool. Love the verses, love the chorus. It's very simple. Just like that was just your life. I really like the clean section that happens before the third chorus. Yeah, I mean this is a pretty good song. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite off of this album. I think that I don't know. Do I want to put it in underrated? Yeah, I'd put it in underrated. It's a very overlooked song. I like how they played it live at the 40th anniversary celebration or not recently, but back in 2021. It was pretty cool. Broken Beat and Scarred. This was pitched as a crowd song, but I don't think it really caught on that well, unfortunately. But it's still a really cool song. I love that simple main riff that I think it was Kirk that wrote that riff, like the and I love after the second chorus when the song picks up like the that's like my favorite part of the song when it picks up. Pretty cool solo. Repetitive verses, like you rise, you fall, you're down, then you rise again. What don't kill you make you more strong. Like that's cool. I really like the simplicity behind this song. But just like the end of the line, I can recognize that this isn't like one of my favorites of the album, but it's still fun to listen to whenever it does come on. So I think this would also fit perfectly into underrated. The Day That Never Comes, the first single, I believe, that was released for this album, and for good reason. It's basically the love child of Fade to Black and One. I love the intro. I love the harmonies, the verses. One of Kirk's best modern solos. Just that break section after the second chorus when it picks up and then it goes into the jam session, like to close out the song. It's like really cool. It has an infectious chorus too, like waiting for the one, the day that never comes. Like it's just a really nice song. I think it fits perfectly into one of my favorites. It has that vibe. It has that feeling to it. And the same can be said for All Nightmare Long, although this is a much thrashier song. It's my favorite off of the album, truthfully. There's nothing wrong with this song. Honestly, like it is just a classic throwback to Metallica thrash. It has elements from pretty much from all of the first four albums. It has that unique complexity, has pretty kick-ass solos. It has really thrashy main riffs. It has cool composition. It fits perfectly into my favorite as well. I like the music video too. Really good riffs like that right before the second solo. Um, every riff, like the even the main riff, like the ba ba na 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 ba da ba ba na 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 ba ba na ba da na ba ba na ba da da ba. Really cool stuff. So then we get to Cyanide. This was also pitched as a crowd song, although this was more of a mainstay from Death Magnetic. When you think of Death Magnetic in that when you think of Death Magnetic songs that Metallica plays still to this day, this is the one that has surprisingly stuck around the most. Or let me rephrase this. Basically, this is the one song from Death Magnetic, besides Day That Never Comes, that Metallica do play occasionally, which is kind of a shame because every song on this album is good. I want to make that painfully obvious. Every song on this album is good. Some are just better than others. So, anyways, Cyanide, I think it's a pretty fun song to hear and sing along to. I love the main riff, like the but wait, that's not how it goes. Actually, that part kind of reminds me of a Crown of Barbed Wire when we get to there eventually. Um, do I want to put Cyanide in great? I don't think it's an underrated song. I think it's a pretty nice standout track from Death Magnetic. I especially love in the intro, like the drum and bass, like the bum ba dum bum bum bum. Or wait, no, that's Confusion. It's a dun 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 dun. So stupid. I think yeah, I'm just gonna put it in great for now. Okay, so The Unforgiven 3. So I originally wanted to put this into great, but then I heard not just the original version recently, but then I heard the S&M version with the San Francisco Symphony. That version actually blew me away. I forgot how awesome it was. Even though it's literally just James singing over the orchestra, they're doing like most of the heavy lifting, and James is just like his vocals are great on this song. It's a really beautiful song. It's to me, it's a perfect combination of the first two songs. Like it still sounds unique, especially because it opens with a piano introduction, which is I think this is like the only Metallica song that does open with a piano or has any kind of piano in it, to my knowledge. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. Um, The Unforgiven 3, it's a very fun song to sing along to. How could he know this new dawn's light would change his life forever? Like, it just has that feeling to it. I love the chorus too. Like, how could he? Or no, that's not it. I literally just sang that. How can I be lost if I got nowhere to go? Like, it's just fun to sing along to. And then I actually think that Kirk's solo on this is pretty underrated. Um, yeah, I think that with all that being said, I think this fits perfectly into my favorite. I originally wanted to bump it down to great, but nah, this song is really good. I could probably bump Unforgiven 2 up here as well, just have the Unforgiven trilogy in this spot because I do love all songs. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that honestly. I think that all three Unforgivens they do something different, but they're all very good and they contribute to each other. All right, so Judas Kiss, just like All Nightmare Long, this song incorporates a lot of elements from the first four albums that I really enjoy. Although this song has more of a unique composition to me. I really love this song. Honestly, lyrically, this song reminds me of Crowley from Supernatural, but I guess if we're talking about video game characters, this song is definitely about Gaunter O'Dim from The Witcher 3. That's what it reminds me of. Bow down, sell your soul to me. I will set you free. Pacify your demons, bow down. Really awesome chorus. I think that if we're talking about all of the songs on this album as a whole, I think that out of all of them, this might be the most underrated one. I really wish they would play this live at some point because it is so freaking cool. It's such a cool song. I love the riffs. Like, oh my god, the riffs on this song are great. And I do agree that the solo section can go on for a little long, but sometimes, and I mean sometimes, you just gotta let your lead guitarist go off, even if it does sound sloppy. So I think that Judas Kiss fits perfectly into favorite, honestly. I can't specify enough. I do really love the riffs on this song, like the Okay, anyways. So Suicide and Redemption, the instrumental of this album, to me, this is it's more I was gonna say it reminds me of Orion, but no, it reminds me of To Live Is to Die. Has like a cool intro and it goes into the main riff like it's kind of like the combination of Call of Cthulhu and To Live Is to Die. Like they both kind of have the same they meld together pretty well. I love the clean section too and the build up towards the end. This is a very underrated song. I think it fits perfectly. Out of all of the songs on Death Magnetic, this is the one that I've listened to the least amount of times, but I still think that this song is very underrated. So, should I put it in underrated? You know what? I'll put it in great. Why not? Because I think that My Apocalypse is more of an underrated song than Suicide and Redemption. My Apocalypse is just a simple, fast, thrashy closing track that goes 5 minutes. It's a very straightforward song, which I appreciate. I mean, there's really not a lot to say. It's just very fast, very thrashy. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that if we're talking about closing tracks, there's obviously better ones, but this one does serve its purpose pretty well. So, where do I want to put this? Hmm. Where do I want to put this one? Um, hmm. I'll put it in underrated. I'm actually gonna bump Broken Beat and Scarred up to great. I just don't feel right putting it that low. And I could maybe say the same for End of the Line, but I think this is actually a pretty fitting placement. Like these are songs I don't listen to all the time, but when they do come on, it's like, oh yeah, this is really good. And then these are like just like a step below my favorites. Like they're still really good though. All right, so I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Okay, we're almost done. We are almost done. So now we have Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which before 72 Seasons, this was the latest Metallica album in 2016. When Hardwired, the song, was revealed, it was August of 2016. I lost my shit because I did not think it just came out of nowhere. It was like, oh my god, it's a new Metallica song. Oh my god! Like, obviously, I didn't sound like that. I didn't sound like that, but I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, like they're actually doing another album because they didn't, to my knowledge, they didn't leave any hints that that's what they were doing while they were on tour. It was a pretty long tour too. And then when this album came out, they went on tour again. Like it was like, geez, like you guys got to slow down a little bit. I'm getting a little worried. So yeah, for the longest time, I have accepted this album to be a good final farewell album in Metallica's discography, just because you never know when a band is going to call it quits and release the final album. And then we got 72 Seasons, but I'll get there eventually. So Hardwired opens with the title track, Hardwired. To me, it's a very short, simple, straightforward song, which I appreciate. Thrashy has those Kill 'Em All roots embedded into it. Uh, Yeah, I mean, I can understand why people don't like this song. Some people think it's way too straightforward, but I mean, that's not really a bad thing. To me, this is the motor breath of the album. It's just very short, very thrashy, very fun. We're so fucked, shit out of luck, hardwired to self-destruct. And I think if I remember correctly, this was actually the last song recorded for the album because they literally just wanted to do a fast and thrashy song to open the album, so that's kind of cool. I think it fits into great. I wouldn't say it's underrated, but I think it's a song I don't mind listening to, especially because it is only 3 minutes. So like you can get that out really quick. So then we get into to Atlas Rise. This was the third single released for the album. I actually really like this song. I love the elements of Iron Maiden in the chorus and the harmony section right before the third verse. Really cool stuff. I especially love that break riff, but before I talk about that, I love every other riff in this song, like the verse riff, like the or no, that's not it. Oh crap, how did it go? It was a I can't believe I remembered that. It's been a while since I've heard the song, but yeah, I think Atlas Rise, and I like I just said, I love the break riff after the second chorus, like the and Metallica seem to have liked that riff a lot because they basically reuse it on 72 Seasons, which is kind of funny to me. Or at least it's like a sequel. That's one thing I should also mention. To me, Hardwired is the modern day equivalent of Load, whereas 72 Seasons, it's the modern day equivalent of Reload, considering how similar these albums sound. Now, is that a bad thing? No, it is not a bad thing. I want to make that very clear. That is not a bad thing. There are other bands that just stick to the same formula and all the albums just kind of blend together after a while. So it's not bad to sound similar. You have a sound, it's nice to stick with it sometimes. So, is it good to take a risk? Yeah, you can. As long as and if it doesn't stick, then go back to your roots. And that's pretty much what Metallica was going for with these albums. And Death Magnetic, but that was like more thrashy. So, anyways, Atlas Rise, I think this fits perfectly into Great as well. So now that we're dead, a very fun song. They did love playing this live. Um, I think it's a pretty good song. I was leaning towards underrated, but after listening to it recently, I was like, you know what? No, this is pretty good. I mean, I like listening to it. It's not a song I would listen to all the time, but I do really like how it is unique. It's still very groovy. There's a lot of cool ideas with it. I do really like the James solo near the end, right before the third chorus. And I just love the riffs too. Like they're simple, they're effective, they're groovy. Like the where wait no. Yeah, that's how it goes. I'll put it in great because I do love listening to this one. And then we finally get to Moth into Flame. To me, this is how you do a Metallica single. This was the second one released for the album, and to me, this has everything that makes a Metallica single instantly likable or lovable. It has the harmonies, it has the thrashy roots, it goes fast sometimes, it has a really good Kirk solo, really good lyrics. Like this is what a Metallica single should be most times. It doesn't have to always be the same thing or a different thing. Sometimes it can just be a combination of both, if that makes sense. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass right now. But no, to be completely honest, this is like a really good single. This was a really good song to hype up the album. I love the harmonies, the melodies. I love the riffs. Like I love the opening, like the yeah. So just imagine that, but like actually sounding good. And I love just like Atlas Rise, I love that break riff after the second verse. It's so simple, chuggy, but it's still kind of thrashy a little bit. Like, what was it? It was, like a moth into the flame, burn, banana, very chuggy. So I think this fits perfectly into Favorite. It's a song I never get tired of hearing. So now we get to Dream No More. This is the love child of the thing that should not be, Sad But True, and maybe a little bit of Memory Remains. Little bit. Very, it's definitely not a thrashy song, but it's a very slow. It tries to match the atmosphere of Thing That Should Not Be, especially because it's talking about Cthulhu, which is pretty cool. I really like this one. I think it's definitely a song that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Pretty much the whole first disc, or the first half of Hardwire, has some really good stuff on it. Not saying that disc 2 is bad, but I think that this one was just better overall. I think Dream No More is a pretty good song. It's pretty solid. I love singing along to it. Cthulhu awaken, wake, dreaming no more. And I just love I like the riffs, like the bow 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 bow. It's like it's very simple, very chuggy, groovy, just like a lot of the other songs on this album. So I think that Great is a pretty good fitting placement. Let me get to Halo on Fire. So I listened to this song for the first time in a while the other day, and I was like, wow, like this song it's still pretty kick-ass. It's takes like more of a ballady approach, but to me, I don't really consider it a ballad. I mean, it kind of follows the same structure as Day That Never Comes, although it's not like as slow. Like it knows when to pick up. And then kind of like Day That Never Comes, it has like that really good break riff after the second chorus, like the banana 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 banana. Prayers cannot get through. Return to sender. Like really awesome break, by the way. And I love that ending section where with the riff, the harmony, like the bow now now bow now 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 bow bow now now hello darkness say good night. Like it's just a really good song. I enjoy listening to it. I actually liked the song with the San Francisco Symphony too. It sounded pretty cool. Yeah, put it in favorite. Why not? So then we get to Confusion. So this was kind of the love child of Cyanide and Am I Evil? Their Diamond Head cover. It's not. It's really. It's just for the opening, like the ba 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 ba. Like it has a pretty cool intro, gets you hyped up, and then it just like Cyanide, it goes into like a little bit of a drum and bass intro, like the boom ba bum 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 ba boom ba bum 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 ba boom ba bum 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 ba boom. Or wait, no, it's a so stupid. I like this song. I don't think it's quite in my favorites. I do like listening to it. I like singing along to it. Confusion. All sanity is now beyond me. Delusion. All sanity is now a memory. My life, the war that never ends. Like, I do like the music video, which is something I don't really bring up too often with Metallica songs, but I think it's very fitting. And hearing it with the symphony was pretty cool too. It was something different. It wasn't a song I would expect to hear with a symphony. I think I'm gonna put it in underrated. I think that's fair. That's a fitting placement for now. So now we get to a song that I don't mind, but I also will acknowledge it's the weakest song on the album, to me personally. Now, it kind of has a similar feel to Judas Kiss, especially with how the verses are structured. Like, if you listen to them both one after the other, you can tell, like, they took some inspiration from Judas Kiss. And I think that's fine. Judas Kiss is a pretty kick-ass song, although this song is not nearly as, like, thrashy or, in my opinion, memorable. It's still pretty solid. It has a very infectious verses and chorus. Like, it's just very simple, but it will get stuck in your head. Like, chaos waiting for Adam's return, madness smiling as we watch it burn. I've become hostage to my mind, left myself behind, blind lead blind, quest to find faith in man unkind. That's not my actual singing voice, by the way. I'm just doing it for the meme. So I do like the main riff, like the the way it was pitched. This would be like a crowd song, and that riff would like get the crowd moving. And I think it does have that groovy feel to it. I'm not really like a big fan of how it's structured. It's mostly the solo section. I feel like if you trimmed the solo section or if you just restructured it, I feel like the song would actually resonate a little better with me, because I don't think it's like that bad of a song, but it's one of the songs that I would have cut off of this album just to trim the fat a little bit. And there's one more song that I'll talk about that's in that category, but I think that Mankind, it's neutral for me. Here comes revenge just for you. God, that was awful. I don't, even though I'm not actually singing that sounded awful. So next we got Here Comes Revenge. This is a very underrated song. I'm just going to get that out of the way right now. I actually like how this song is structured. Has a pretty cool opening riff, like the bow out, bow 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 and bow. Or that's definitely not how it goes. But then it goes into the little main riff, like bow to bow 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 bow. I love the verses because the bass and the drums. They form like a little bit of a heartbeat, like the bum 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 bum, and it goes into the verse. It's a pretty cool song. I really like it. Lyrically, obviously it's not like the best. It's mostly the choruses. The chorus, I feel like it could have been like a little more unique, but I still think that it's a pretty solid song. Hearing it live was a pretty pleasant surprise. Whenever it was like, what, 2017, 2018? They played almost every song from this album live at least once, and this was one of them. I think they only played it once or twice, but it's still a pretty cool song to hear every now and then. I think it fits perfectly with Confusion in the underrated section. Now, Am I Savage? I think that this qualifies the same way as as Confusion, Here Comes Revenge. To me, I really like this song. It's very groovy. Again, it has a pretty solid main riff, like the I like the verses. Like, it's just very infectious to sing along to. I like the chorus. I love that break riff. I can't do it. I'm not gonna try to do it. But I love the break riff after the second chorus. Pretty cool solo. This is one of the songs that Metallica has not played live yet, which is crazy because I actually think this song would be pretty well received. So I think it fits perfectly into underrated. I think that, I mean, most people say this song is underrated to the point where it wouldn't be underrated anymore, but to me personally, I do agree. So now we get to the other song that I just don't like that much off of Hardwired, and it's not the song's fault. I do think it's a really great tribute to Lemmy Kilmister. I especially love watching the video for this song because it's just mindless fun, which is basically Lemmy in a nutshell. Um, but I don't know. This is just one song that I just don't find myself listening to that much. I mean, when I do hear it, it's a fun little song to hear. I like the Sanitarium-esque intro in the beginning, and then I like how it goes into the main riff, like the bow na na bow 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 na na bow 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 na. That's not how it goes. It's not like yeah, that's a little better. I mean, I don't know. This is just like it's kind of like Man Unkind. Like it's a song I like listening to. It's very catchy. It gets stuck in your head. The thing that separates this from Man Unkind though is I do really like the song being about Lemmy. Like that's awesome. But I don't know. I think it fits perfectly into neutral, and this is the other song that Metallica have not played live from this album yet, which is kind of crazy, but I do understand, I guess. And then we finally get to spit out the bone. So remember how I said earlier the whole first disc or the first half of Hardwired is pretty solid throughout. Well, for me personally, and I feel like for a lot of other people, the second half of Hardwired, you're basically just waiting patiently for Spit Out the Bone to come on. Now this, I'm not going to try to, talk down the other songs. All the other songs are pretty good for the most part. Spit Out the Bone though, ooh, that was what was that? Oh my god, that actually hurt my throat. What the fuck was that? Oh, quality content. Okay, Spit Out the Bone. It's a perfect closing track for a Metallica album. If I didn't already say Dyer's Eve was the best one, I would say this is the best one. It combines everything that we love about the first four albums into one classic modern sounding Metallica song. It's fast, it's thrashy, it has good riffs, groove, really cool badass lyrics, a decent music video, not that that matters. Really solid soloed, good drumming, good bass, showcasing. Everything about the song works. I love the intro, how it's reminiscent of Metal Militia. Like that's pretty cool. And I go into the verse and the main riff. The chorus is pretty cool, simple, straightforward. I love that domination-esque riff, just like that Pantera song, like the banana bum banana bum banana bum banana bum. And I think the first time they played it live was in London, I think 2018, 2017. And when I saw that notification pop up, I was like, "Oh my god, they're finally playing it live! Oh my god!" Not like that, obviously, but still a very awesome song overall, and I think yeah, this is obviously fitting into my favorite category easily. All right, and we finally made it to 72 Seasons, the latest album for Metallica, releasing just oh my god, it's already been 4 months. Really? Holy crap. It was April, right? I think it was April. Hold on, let me fact check it. You would think I would know this at the top of my head, but sometimes I do forget. Yeah, it was April. April 14th. So yeah, it's literally almost been 4 months to the date. Holy crap. That is crazy. Okay, anyways. So 72 Seasons, to me, this is the modern equivalent to Reload, considering how a lot of these songs do sound similar or they take influence from Hardwired. Is that a bad thing? No. Like I've already said, that is not a bad thing to me. I think that's fine. Like you can reuse some stuff or you can just restructure some stuff. It's still noticeable to me, but I'm not going to be like a nitpicky bitch all the time over it. I just don't. Life is too short. Let's just move on. So, 72 Seasons to me is a perfect send-off album for Metallica. I do like this album because it does go more. It doesn't really have a break except for the closing track, which we'll get to. So, anyways, the title track itself, 72 Seasons, I feel like it's a pretty solid opening track. It's the love child of Spit Out the Bone and Hardwired from the previous album. It kind of has that same type of riff to it, but the verses and the chorus, it's pretty cool. Solo's pretty nice. I like the harmonies. Really good stuff. It's such an infectious like song to get stuck in your head. Like feeding on the wrath of man, shot down, traumatic. Like sometimes I'll just catch myself singing that through random points of the day, and then I forget the lyrics because I still don't know all of them by heart. So would I put this in favorite? Not necessarily, but I think it fits perfectly into great for me personally. I might change my mind though. So remember how earlier I was saying that Atlas Rise had that really good riff, like the ba-na-na, ba-na, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Well, Shadows Follow takes that same riff and it elevates it to where it's not just a break riff, but it's the verse riff. So now instead of that, it's Bum ba bum ba bum ba ba na 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 ba na bum ba bum ba bum ba na na bum bum ba bum ba ba na 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 ba na bum ba bum ba ba na 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 na. And at the time of recording this video, they just recently played it live, and it seems like it got received pretty well, so that's awesome. It's a pretty cool song. Really like the chorus too. The chorus is it's a breath of fresh air. It's not like obviously like the greatest thing ever made or anything, but I think that the chorus is pretty cool. I like the break riff too, like the very simple, very effective, very chuggy. It's kind of reminiscent of like that break section after the second verse or second chorus. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Holier Than Thou with how that riff is, but it still has a pretty cool harmony to it. Solo's pretty nice. Yeah, I think this fits perfectly with 72 Seasons, right in the great category. So we get Screaming Suicide. This is the second single revealed for 72 Seasons, and I lost my shit when they revealed this song. Just like how they revealed Lux Eterna, but we'll get to that in a minute. Screaming Suicide, to me, this is my favorite of the singles that they revealed. I love the main riff, like the ba or wait, no, that's the break riff. Or wait, how did it go? Crap, how did I forget? Hang on, So yeah, I really like that riff. I love the verses. Like I really love the verses. Really cool stuff. Chorus is again kind of like Shadows Follow. It's a little bit of a different approach, but it's still a breath of fresh air, something different. A lot of people dislike this song and a lot of 72 Seasons for not being unique enough, but to me, I think this is fine. It's a fine song. I sound like a kid. Like it's fine. Don't make fun of it because I like it. It's fine. It's no, I'm not like that, but um I really love this song. I don't really need to like go into further detail. I just really love this song. To me, it's like the heavier version of Fade to Black with how it talks about, those messages, but it tries to be more of a kick-ass version of it, like throughout the whole song. Yeah, I like it. So now I get to Sleepwalk My Life Away. So this actually used to be my favorite song on the album until another song I discovered, and I was like, well, never mind. I changed my pick. This song is still really good, though. I like it a lot. I love the opening. Obviously, like the bass getting a chance to showcase. I like how the main riff, or the verse riff, is kind of a combination of Enter Sandman and Sad But True. It's like I can't do it. I honestly don't remember how it goes. I'm sorry, but I do remember the like the bow, na, na, bow, bow, na, na, bow. I feel like I need to listen to the song just to remember the riffs. Holy crap, how did I forget? Oh geez, I'm starting to slip. It's happening. It's finally happening. I'm losing the knowledge. So okay, anyways, Sleepwalk My Life Away I think is a really cool song. I like the chorus, like the Wake me, gone in your spell, I'm dreaming. Wake me, day after day repeating. Wake me, sleepwalk my life away. That's still not how it goes. I know what I'm trying to do, but I just can't remember how it goes. Um, do I put it in favorite? I think that lyrically, it's a pretty solid song. Honestly, it's one of the more standout songs on the album lyrically. Do I want to put it in my favorite? I could. I could. I probably should. Yeah, why not? We'll put it in my favorite for now. Okay, so You Must Burn. This is my favorite song on the album. I love how it's a hybrid of Sad But True, and it has the Black Sabbathy Alice in Chains influences. Like I love that break riff after the second chorus, like the bow no no bow no 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 bow bow bum 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 bow no no no. Like I love that. That sounds like really awesome. I love how like it's basically like a modern version of Black Sabbath, which is kind of grunge in a nutshell. And then during that riff, they have like that unique dual vocal with Rob and James, like, and it really does give me Alice in Chains vibe. But then it goes into another great riff, which is probably my favorite riff on the album, like the bow da na na bow da na na ba na na ba na ba ba na na ba na ba na bow ba na na bow ba na na ba na na ba na ba ba na na ba. Oh, it's so good. But before that too, I really liked the verses. I loved the other main, like the bow 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 down bow down bow 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 bow. I would say this song resembles more of Harvester of Sorrow, honestly, than Sad But True, but you know, you could throw that in there. The drumming to me on this song, it does resemble a lot of Black Sabbath as well, like where it's just kind of like all over the place. Not trying to say that Bill Ward was like all over the place, but when you do listen to the first two albums, that is what it kind of sounds like. But just like Black Sabbath, I think the drumming does work on this song. But and I like singing along to it. Like the chorus is pretty cool. Like smile as it burns to the ground. The perfect don't want you around. Question yourself, you may learn. You are the witch, you must burn. You must burn. Like, I remember listening to this album at midnight 4 months ago, and I was playing Elder Scrolls Online, and I had it in the background, I had my headphones on, full blast. Like, I was ready for this album, and hearing that song, I immediately fell in love with it. So, yeah, this goes into my favorite. No question. So then Lux Eterna, this was the first song revealed, just like how Hardwired was revealed for the last album. This song came out of nowhere. Like, you know how most bands, they like reveal like an announcement like, "Oh, new song this Friday." Nope, Metallica, they just released it. Like, I remember waking up one morning before the year was out last year, and I remember seeing that notification on YouTube. I was like, "What?" And then I immediately had to listen to it, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like and even though it is just a very simple, straightforward song, like it blew me away. Like I couldn't believe that they were actually doing another album, like a new song on a new album. Like that blew me away. And then all of a sudden, social media was blowing up. Like they had the new album, new tour announcements, and I was like, "Oh my god, we're getting another Metallic album! Oh my god!" And that's pretty much how I did sound this time. So stupid. So, how does Lux Eterna rank among the rest of the album? Well, to me, my first thoughts on it was I really like the old school feel of the song. It's very reminiscent of Kill 'Em All and Motorhead. I like the Hit the Lights esque riff, like the bam 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 bam. That's Hit the Lights, and then Lexa Turner had that bam 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 da da da. Like they kind of sound similar a little bit with that riff, but it's okay. I mean the main riff and the verses like anticipation, denomination, a sea of hearts beat as one unified. Like it's so infectious. You can't help but, well, at least I can't help but singing along to it every time it comes on. And I think that back then my first thoughts were, okay, this is a really good song, but I'm really curious to see what the rest of the album sounds like before judging the song entirely. And that's pretty much how I felt until the album release. So ranking this song among the rest of the album, it's obviously not the best, but I do appreciate how it is a simple, straightforward, fast and easy to listen to song, and it's still pretty kick-ass. So, I'm gonna put it in great. Crown of Barbed Wire. This actually might be my least favorite song on the album, but I want to make it very clear that is not a bad thing. This is still a pretty cool song. I like how, as soon as I saw the track listing for this album, I was really excited to see and to hear how this song would sound. And I think that it basically took it in a whole other direction than what I was anticipating. Like, I was kind of expecting a more thrashy song, so that's my own fault for getting my expectations that high, or for having those expectations. The song itself is still pretty cool. I like the riffs. Again, they're very simplistic, groovy, easy to listen to. I like the chorus riff, and I like the chorus itself. Like, so tight, this crown of barbed wire. It's still a really fun song to listen to, and I really like the break riff after the second chorus, like the bum 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 bum. Ba-na-na, da-na-na, bum 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 bum. Kirk's solo is actually pretty cool too on this song. I think that this fits into underrated for me personally. I think that's a pretty fitting placement, honestly. Okay, so now we got Chasing Light. This is a pretty cool song. Probably my only the only thing I dislike about the song is the opening. I just feel like as soon as James says, "There's no light," bum bum bam bum bum bam bum 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 bam bum bum bam bum 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 bum. Like that's cool, but I also think it should just go straight into the main riff, which I really liked a lot, like the banana banana bam bum bum bam bum bum bam 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 banana banana bam bam. That reminds me of Lords of Summer, which was a bonus track on the Hardwired album. It has that similar style to me, which is, it's still a pretty cool song. I love the chorus, like chase that light, lean on me, like really awesome vocal delivery on this song. Cool lyrics. I love that ending riff too, like the banana, 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 banana. I just like that ending too. It's pretty cool. It brings more energy to the album. So I think Great is pretty fitting. So If Darkness Had a Sun. So when this song was revealed, it was the third song revealed, I believe, and this was the first time in a long time where I heard a new Metallica song and I didn't immediately like it. Now, I do appreciate the song now that the rest of the album is out, just like Lux Eterna, although to me, I think this song tries to be a modern version of Eye of the Beholder with how it opens, but to me it just doesn't really stack up that well. But then when you get into the verses, like ba-na-na, bum 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 bum, but temptation, ba-na-na, bum 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 bum, but temptation, like that sounds really good. I wasn't a big fan of the verses at first, but then when I recently listened to Eye of the Beholder, it kind of has that same progression, although it's just, listening to that riff and then going right into the verses, it did kind of catch me off guard a little bit. Probably the one thing I would trim from this song is the solo section, and I did recently say, like, for Judas Kiss, like, oh, sometimes you just gotta let the lead guitarist go off even if it sounds sloppy. I said sometimes, not all the time. We still got 3 more songs on this album. But no, the main reason I don't like the solo section is I just feel like it's kind of structured a little weird, if that makes sense. I don't know. You just have to listen to the song. Uh, the live version sounds really cool though. I love the crowd singing along. Temptation. I really love the chorus. If darkness had a son, here I am. Temptation is his father. Like that's a pretty cool. That's easy to sing along to. It's pretty cool. It's memorable. It gets stuck in your head. But I think that overall, I would put this maybe in underrated. Because I don't think it's a bad song. I feel better now that the rest of the album is out. So I think that it fits perfectly with Crown of Barbed Wire and underrated. And mainly because a lot of other people dislike this song. I don't. But I will acknowledge it's not like the best on the album or anything. There's still some pretty cool riffs and good ideas. Too Far Gone, they recently played the song live, just like with Shadows Follow, and that makes me a very happy camper. It's a pretty cool song. I didn't originally like it, but then when the more I listened to it, I was like, yeah, this is actually pretty solid. The last 3 tracks on this album are very melodic and very, very cool, to put for lack of a better term. Too Far Gone, I really like this. I like how it kind of like the verses. It reminds me of Stone Temple Pilots a little bit. Like, I am smelling like a rose that somebody gave me on my birthday deathbed. And then James is like, I am. Like that was the first thing that I noticed when I listened to it, and my mom did too. That was pretty fun. But I think that the song itself, like I said, it's very melodic. It's very catchy. And everyone talks about after the second chorus, like when it goes melodic, like the that's definitely one of the best parts of this album for sure. But the song itself too, it's still pretty cool. I like how it's also simple and straightforward compared to a lot of the other songs on this album, so I think it fits perfectly into Great. Now, Room of Mirrors, I really like this one. It's a faster song on the album. Just like Too Far Gone, it still has that melodic approach. I like how the main riff, it's like kind of a punk rock riff, maybe? Kind of. It's a little punky, like the bana ba bana ba bana ba bana 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 ba bana. I don't know. It's just kind of fun to listen to. Um, I love the lyrics. I love the progression. The chorus is pretty cool. Would you criticize, scrutinize, analyze my pain? Like, it's really cool. And then, of course, everyone, just like Too Far Gone, they talk about the part where it goes melodic. This happens after the first solo, or after the solo. Like the like that might not sound like much, but when you listen to the song, it's like, holy shit, this is beautiful. I love how they repeat it right at the end and then they close out the song. Like it's a really cool one. I like this one. This is another standout track on the album. I think it fits perfectly into Great. And then we finally get to Inamorata, the closing track of 72 Seasons, the final song that I need to rank. We finally made it. So Inamorata, to me, this is the love child of a lot of different songs. So it's a love child of My Friend of Misery, The Outlaw Torn, Fixer, and Orion. And to me, just like how Spit Out the Bone, it was a really awesome closing track reminiscent of the 80s version of Metallica. This is a great closing track reminiscent of the 90s version of Metallica. It just has a very infectious sound for me personally. Like every riff is just, you can just hum. Like the opening riff, like the boom 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 boom. That's not the opening riff, but that's like the one of the break riffs near the end. That kind of reminds me of Bad Seed's main riff, which is pretty cool. Okay, so Inamorata, I really love this song. I love listening to it. It's 11 minutes, which is the longest song that Metallica has recorded in their studio discography, but it doesn't feel like 11 minutes to me. It really doesn't. I love the middle section where the bass gets a chance to shine, and it's just, it's the only mellow point on this album where they can just take a breather and just, it's just nice. It's calming, and then builds back up, goes into a really cool solo that references the same solo in My Friend in Misery. It's just a different tone and a different tuning. Really awesome song, honestly. And I love the ending too, like when it just keeps building and building and building, and it goes into that beautiful harmony section. Similar to Halo on Fire, in my opinion, kind of has that same vibe when it picks up. And I just love the verses and the lyrics in the chorus. The chorus has been stuck in my head for 4 months now. Like, misery, she needs me. Oh, but I need her more. Like, it's just so damn infectious, and I love it so much. And when I was listening to this album track by track in order, I had no idea what to expect for this song. Like, I thought it was going to be an instrumental. I had no idea what they were going to do for 11 minutes, but when I heard it, I was like, okay, okay, oh my god, that's beautiful. Okay, that was like pretty much me throughout the whole song. Like I was just like listening to build up after build up. Now, obviously, some people might not feel this way. Some people do call the song boring, and that's fine. They are entitled to their own opinion, but I personally don't feel this way. I think that this fits obviously perfectly into the favorite tab. So what is this? So this is 4, 8, 11, so 22, 33. So 44 songs. Make sure 4, 8. Yeah, this is 44 songs right here. So then 11, 22, 33, 35. God, that took a second. So 35, 34, and then 36. So wow, that is like actually a pretty good roundup of all of the songs. I think that I feel okay. Now, I do want to make sure that people know the order of this ranking does not matter. Like, it's really just the placement. Like, just putting the actual order, it doesn't matter to me. So, there are some songs that were left off, like the cover songs, the bonus tracks for Hardwired, Garage Inc., the S&M version of All Within My Hands, which I actually think is better than the original one, in my opinion. This isn't technically every song Metallica has done, but it is all of the 11 studio tracks, and I can finally breathe and just be thankful that I've done this. It's made it to the end. If you have stuck by this song, I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I think that overall, this is a much better ranking than what I had last time. It was definitely structured better, and I feel more confident in this video than the last video I did. I'm just gonna take a quick, okay, so let's see. Don't tread on me, cure, pour twisted me, some kind of monster in my world, purify. I think this is fine. Struggle within, ain't my bitch, 2x4, mama said, better than you, slither, attitude, Saint anger, invisible kill, then my hands made kind. Yeah, I think this is fine. I could, I could maybe bump these two up to underrated because I don't think they're bad songs, but I also don't think they're that great. So maybe we'll just put them in neutral for now. So underrated, Jump in the Fire, Escape, Holier Than Thou, Of Wolf and Man, House Jack Built, Wasting My Hate, Thorn Within, Ronnie, Devil's Dance, Carpe Diem Baby, Bad Seed, Prince Charming, Low Man's Lyric, Dirty Windows, Shoot Me Again, The End of the Line, My Apocalypse, Confusion, Here Comes Revenge, Am I Savage, Crown of Barbed Wire, If Darkness Had a Sun. So I think this is fine, honestly. Underrated tracks. Not the greatest of all time, but they're still really cool to listen to. Hit the Lights, Motor Breath, Anesthesia, Phantom Lord, Metal Militia, or Fight Fire with Fire, Trapped Under Ice, Call of Clue, Thing That Should Be, Leper Messiah, Damage Inc., Eye the Beholder, Enter Sandman, Wherever My Roam, Through the Never, Until It Sleeps, Until the Day, Memory Remains, Where the Final Things Are, Sweet Amber, Unnamed Feeling, That Was Just Your Life, Broken Piece, Scarred, Cyanide, Okay, I think this is fine. And then the favorite tab, I think I feel confident leaving all of these where they are. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, thank you for watching. This took me a long time to get through, and I just want to thank you all for supporting me and helping me get through this. So with that being said, this is Metal Witcher N7, and I'm signing off.